Yo, yo, yo!
Ho, ho, ho!
Yeah, it's that time of year again, everybody. Welcome, episode 99 of Heelanhammer. Today is the Christmas special 2013. On today's show, we're going to be roasting someone's chestnuts, not sure who it is, talking about our Christmas wish list, seeing who has been naughty and who has been very, very nice. All this and more on today's Heelanhammer. Heelanhammer. Added a little bit there just for extra. There you go. Those jingle bells are ringing, and it is that time of year for everybody. It is Christmas time. So, hello, Wayne. How you doing?
Exhausted already.
Knackered. I am relentless powered for this evening. It should be a good time. And we've got a returning guest who hasn't been on for a while joining us today, and we've got a few special guests that are just popping in to say hello on the Christmas show. A little bit like it's like the BBC. I don't know if you English listeners recall. You know, on Christmas specials, you always have different random people in, and that's.
Don't I get paid loads of money to do that?
Yeah, well, we do, mate. We're you know. No, we're not. So,
to say, I'll leave you a receipt.
Yeah, we've got a man waiting speaking to his mic here. So, welcome to the show once again. It is the man, Brian, the hobby killer, Carmichael. Hello, mate. How's it going?
Good.
Nice. So, it's all good.
It's all good, yeah.
It's all
nice
good.
to be back.
We can tell he's going to be the more quiet one of this evening. We'll find out.
You've got to stop drinking Relentless.
I was tired. I feel good. Right. Okay. So everybody, welcome once again. Before we get into the show, I just want to cover off for all your Christmas presents, and there are some cracking deals out there at the minute. www.oddgames.co.uk. Make sure you get there. You can get a nice little percentage off. Make sure you check the show notes for the code. That will get you the extra bit of money. If you don't know what that is, it is HEELANXMAS. Spend £40 or more and save an extra 5% at Odd Games this Christmas. So make sure you do that. I'm certainly going to have a look at a couple of bits and pieces. I'm looking forward, actually. I've got a bit of a family do. I don't know how, because people who, like you guys that know me, you guys, that's my hand showing to the two other people in the mics, will know that I'm not exactly Mr. Family, sociable man, but somehow my missus has talked me into having some people around this year, our family, and I'm looking forward to playing. One of the listeners lent me, I want to say Rage Against the Machine, but I don't mean that. Cards Against Humanity. Yeah, I'm looking forward to playing that with my family because I think it would be hilarious with the complete lack of appropriate humour that my family demonstrates. So it'd be good.
I think yours is one of the few families that can actually embrace that game completely.
Yeah, no one will get offended.
No.
In fact, people will probably think it's tame. So we'll just get back to insulting each other. That'd be more fun. Okay, so let's get straight into it. Today's show, we've got some segments on different bits and pieces. And I think, though, we will start with a bit of the news.
Coming to you live from Portsmouth, this is the Heelanhammer Network News.
Okay, so the news is pretty simple. There isn't really any. There's lots of rumours kicking around. There's been a bit, we've had some other product and stuff. There's been some interesting digital releases. You can now get the Warhammer rulebook on an iPad, which is really good. Any of you guys had a chance to have a look at this?
I didn't even know that the rulebook was released.
No, it's a very, very quiet release. I think they did it via an email shot. There's also a campaign pack that's a vampire one that's appeared, so I might get that just to have a look. I don't think it's very expensive. Might pick that up so we can play some games as you two are my most regular opponents. I'm sure we'll be able to pick that up. So I've not got much to tell you about that at that point, but if you don't know, like these two guys didn't know, check out Games Workshop's website. It was a bit of an odd one. I don't know if it's going to come out in White Dwarf. It was like an odd mid-month splash release. Oh, this is available. So I just happened to see it on the Twitters, which is always the best place to get it.
So they'll have a month of people furiously buying it for their iPads, and then January 9th edition comes out.
Probably be July, August, I would have thought. But yeah, if it is at all, this is all going off of rumours. I haven't been keeping up.
It makes sense. I mean, they're doing everything, that they're going that way, obviously with White Dwarf and everything else. So it makes sense.
To be honest, without putting anything in anybody's head, there's plenty of people, let's say, with digital editions of the rulebook, so it makes sense for them to legalise it basically and make some money off of it. And
absolutely.
I'm pretty sure everybody who has one illegally, or not everybody, but the majority of people that have one illegally will want to pay for it. I know I certainly would, because you get a better searchable.
Yeah. If it wasn't rumoured to be so close, and probably it's a safe rumour, so close to the end of the edition, I'd certainly pick it up. If it came out 6 months ago, you'd definitely pick it up. Now I'm not sure if I would, but definitely, you can only imagine that when the next edition does come out, that we'll have digital rulebooks from the get go. I mean, they very much seem to be going down the digital route and embracing the digital route.
I mean, I sit here all the time with my little iPad mini, and it's ideal for that kind of stuff. I know a lot of people have a rule book of a similar size that fall to bits quite a lot over the certainly for tournament gamers who use them a lot. And this is ideal. It's worth spending the money just to have it.
I mean, you can see it. It'll all be digital army books, digital rule book, and then there'll be kind of like an app to go with it to do your lists.
Well, there's already. I mean, we'll use Quartermaster.
Yeah,
which,
but there'll be a Games
I
Workshop
mean,
one.
I think they're missing a big trick. Money to, I'm sure they'll be able to monetize that. But you look at the books and you look at the campaign packs. They've almost got inbuilt apps in them. They've got interactive functions within them that allow you to track turns and different bits and pieces. So. It's just a natural progress. So that's really it. I just wanted to point people in that direction so they could go and check it out, really, because whether there's another edition around the corner or not, if you haven't got one or your one's falling to bits, why not buy it? It's I'm not sure how much it is, but it's worth having, I think, even if you're only going to get 8 months use out of it. So I think that's all the news for now. Straight into the topic of the day, Christmas. And we're here for the topic. So, guys, I sent you a little list earlier. It's like we did preparation with professionals here on this show, and we had a little look at some Christmas-based questions. I know we've got Chris Tomlin from the Back Sun popping in briefly after this this chat to talk to us a little bit about how his thoughts on exactly the same thing to get a different viewpoint. So I'm going to start with you, Brian. Now, I tasked everybody to have a look at 3 things that they thought would get them on the naughty list of Santa/Father Christmas, depending on your regional sort of place in the world, on his naughty or his nice list. So, Brian, what would let's have your first one then. What was the first thing that would get you on Santa's good list?
The one that would get me, I think, something I've been meaning to do for a long time is actually spending more time painting my own stuff and spending time painting it properly. So, that's been something that's kind of I've only really started doing in the last couple of months. But having gone through a period of probably 18 months of almost painting a new army for every tournament, now sort of spending a good period of time painting an army and painting, in particular, one particular model, the Forge World Carmine Dragon. I've been painting that for months. So that's kind of a very new experience for me.
And what was it before that was stopping you doing that?
I wasn't really comfortable with any one army. There was nothing that really grabbed my attention.
You weren't part of the arms race, were you? You were the arms race.
Right,
yeah. He was like, "That's filth, I'm having it."
Yeah. Was it? Do you think you were spurred on by the fact? Because was it a couple of tournaments in a row you won back to back or something? I mean, were you spurred on? Do you think by the fact that you knew that you'd had the latest, not filth, but the latest book? All right, filth in some ways at the tournaments and you'd won. Do you think that had spurred you on to carry on with the arms race?
No, I don't think it was that. I hadn't, since I stopped playing with the demons, I never really found something that I really enjoyed playing with. So I was constantly looking around for something new to play with. If a new book comes out, why not that be the new thing? And obviously, being a competitive person, you write a competitive list. And then, the pace of the change was such that almost every tournament that was coming up, there was a new book coming out. So, yeah, I guess it was an arms race, but it was an unintentional one in trying to find something that interested me, and none of them did. Whereas now I'm kind of working on a dark elf, wood elf, high elf army. There's lots of kind of opportunities to use units as more than one thing.
Those executioners would definitely fit well in a... no, wait.
No, they won't, but a lot of the cavalry does. A lot of the infantry.
If a new wood elf book comes out, you don't know what's going to be in it, do you?
No. Well, you don't, do you?
There'll be all sorts of surprises.
Yeah. Executioners, dudes with skull No, I can't say. No.
Like axemen, woodsmen. Actually, no, they wouldn't be chopping trees down, would they?
No.
Scrub that.
Yeah, so I find it a bit odd, actually, because you're back to Dark Elves, which, bizarrely enough, when Wayne and I first met you at the Warrington GT many moons ago, that was the army you were playing, wasn't it? That's where you started.
Yeah, I think in the summer I kind of just got rid of almost everything, and all that I had left was a Vampire Count's army that needed a lot of work, and then a Dark Elf army just sitting in a box that hadn't really seen the light of day for a long time, and not even a complete Dark Elf army. It was just some units, stuff I had left I hadn't sold. So kind of the High Elves come out, then the Dark Elf book, and when the High Elves come out, I thought, well, maybe a kind of High Elf, Dark Elf army is something that could be interesting. and the Dark Elves came out, so I kind of had most of the army painted. So I didn't really need to do a lot, and kind of, which is nice because I'm in a position where I can just add the things that I want to add. Whereas before it was start a new army and you have to paint everything. So yeah, a different place, but I'm enjoying it.
Good. And what about you, Wayne? What was your first one?
I didn't do the good list because I just couldn't come up with anything. Three good things. I found this year quite negative, to be honest. I haven't really kind of drawn a lot of positives on it. It was good starting to show up again.
But there you go. There's one for you. That's hobby related.
Yeah. I mean, that was because that was good. But hobby wise, no, which we'll get into later. I've been a bit I've been doing non-stop hobby all the time. We've been doing a show. I've been painting stuff and doing stuff. But I haven't really been happy with any of it. So it's kind of like I found that a really hard one to answer, actually.
Oh, okay. Well, Father Christmas won't be coming to you then, will he, young
three
man?
of them. I was kind of like, can't think of one. Well,
I was going to go for 5 originally, so no, I can only get 2 myself. So no, it's quite a hard thing to do. But from my perspective, I would say one of your good things is you do seem to have got, although you said about you haven't done anything you're quite happy with. From my point of view, as an outsider, you seem to have done quite a lot of different pieces. Like you got most of a demon army done, and you had a lot of different bits and bobs done throughout the year. You've not got anything massive, but it's you've not like been working on something and it's never gone into a painted model. You've gone through a lot of the stages and got painted models out of it, albeit not armies. Whereas before, like you think about the Empire, you got bits of awesome units and stuff, but they never made it to paint, did they? So. Yeah,
I think from say like other people, because I put a lot of stuff on put everything on Twitter. So basically everything I'm working on, everyone else can see. So from their point of view, if they like what they're looking at, it's kind of like I've had a really productive year. I've had a really kind of positive, productive year because they're seeing like Bretonnians worked on, demons, Skaven. I did like just all sorts. The Bretonnians, all sorts of stuff. But for me personally, it's kind of like I can't stick to one project. We was talking to Steve Wren.
Oh, Steve Wren.
When we was talking to Steve Wren about this, and
on a recent Saucy show,
he starts a project, and no matter what, he sees that project through. I mean, people like that, and Ben Johnson. I mean, when I first met Ben Johnson, he had the Orc Army. He did a massive Orc Army. Then he went on to, I think he dabbled with the sort of the Empire for a bit, but he kind of didn't really. I don't think he really liked the way they played. So he got into Skaven, done a massive Skaven army with every option in that. And he got onto the demons, and he's got a massive demon army, which he's still painting, and it's huge. And I wish I could do that. I wish I could, get one project. I mean, because if I had, my Skaven would have been finished a long, long time ago. I'd have had the Tomb Kings finished, the demons would have been finished, and now I'd have 3 massive armies and be able to start a new project. But none of them finished.
No.
So that's a bit of a. That's something I need to sort out.
Would you say that's one of your naughty list points then?
The
unfinished project.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, trying to finish a project, I just never do it.
No, I could. I think that's a keen one really with the naughty list. I think that would make a lot of people's is the half finished projects or the not really seeing something through to the end. I mean, mine's similar actually. My naughty list was I didn't feel like I painted enough this year. I think, unfortunately, we've spoken about this a lot of times on the show, the ETC, the European Team Championships, takes a massive knock out of hobby time. And because you're always thinking about what you should be doing for there, or you end up playing a lot more than painting and things like this. And as a result, I didn't paint a lot. But on a flip side, one of my good points for the list was that I got my vampires up to a standard, just added to them. Again, they're not a lot different, but I managed just to do a couple of little bits and pieces, some new trays, magnetize it all, and just spend the time to get it so it's tournament ready. And albeit I'm not very happy with the selection of it, and I don't think it's massively competitive. I've enjoyed using it, and it's mine. It's all my painted models, and I've taken it to a couple of events. Is it 2 or 3 events at the end of the year? I think there might be a couple. And it's just, I took Empire to the other event I did. So, but yeah, it was just nice to get it out. So hopefully he's looking down at me and thinking I've done good. I've got something there, and I've still got some bits on my desk. Again, my busiest time at work at the moment, so I haven't had 5 minutes to myself, so I haven't touched any of it, but it's all sitting there just to sort of add a few bits, probably ready for January. And I'll probably take the Vamps over to Adepticon, I would have thought, although I would have loved to take my Lizards or something that not could show off, but could just display my hobby ability a bit better than the Vampires. They'll travel well, I'm sure. And
someone like Adepticon, you want to showcase yourself, don't you? I know that sounds a bit sort of
No, but a lot of
arrogant,
people
but
listen
you
to the
kind of
show,
like-
don't they?
Yeah.
And it'd be nice.
You want to, because I'm going to take the Scabe into a Depscon. I'm not sure how I'm going to pack it.
How many bits it's
I'm
going
going to
to
have a massive problem with that. I think because if I take the belt, I'm going to finish the the big dark lens miniature, the big double-headed rat ogre with the belt on it. I'm going to finish all that, and that's going to be my belt. So, but how am I going to transport that?
Yeah, it's going to be hard.
It's going to be a nightmare. So, but that's the thing. See, I've got so many big conversions in the army. I've got to sort something out, some way of actually transporting it all safely. I would like to just take it as hand luggage and keep it on me because I don't want that going in the baggage compartment that gets smashed to bits. So,
yeah, you just got to keep it down. But some of it might be worth looking at battle foam bag. You know, but we are not in any way affiliated with Battle Foam, but I do love their products. I haven't had to use mine last year, but the year before I used it a lot for international travel, and it was fantastic. A little 432 they're called. They fit perfectly on the flight. So I know Chris Tomlin from the Black Sun podcast is going over to the US for a January tournament, and I think he bought your 432 off you, didn't he, Brian? So they're good little ones. But there you go, little plug. So no, that's good. What's your next one then, Brian?
Probably a good one was taking a step back this year. You know, for all sorts of reasons, including losing my job at the beginning of the year. It was kind of forced upon me. But I think having some time away from everything after, a couple of years of kind of being full on, with the ETC, playing lots of tournaments, painting loads of armies for myself and other people, it was nice to have a break. And I think, that was a positive for the hobby for me, because now coming back kind of differently, coming back, spending time painting things, not really particularly bothered about being ultra competitive. Still want to go to tournaments and do well, but kind of just doing it because I want to enjoy it. It kind of got to the stage where it wasn't a job, but it kind of, it felt like a treadmill you were on.
Yeah. Well, I know we spoke about it a lot, Wayne, and we spoke about it when I've had Russ on Saucy shows. That especially if you're doing well, you want to be competitive. It is a massive treadmill and an arms race all the time, and that is the feeling you get, isn't it? It's constant. It's probably the similar thing with the painting side of competitive. I think, that similar feeling. I
think when I did take a break years ago, this was before. This has got to be 17, 18 years ago when I did take a break. I had about a year off, and it coming back into it was brilliant. Because it was kind of like your attitude is kind of like, well, it's not, the hobby's not going anywhere. You don't have to rush this. You don't have to rush that. If it takes you X amount of time to get something done, the hobby's still going to be there. It's still tournaments. It's still, but when you're kind of caught in that treadmill, you don't see it that way. You just think, must get this done, must get that done, must do this, must do that. And you end up going backwards to a certain point, don't you? You end up kind of, I don't know, you do a lot.
Wanes.
You do a lot, but you don't necessarily do a lot of the right thing.
Yeah, and I think it might be a bit sacrilegious, but there is a life outside the hobby.
Yeah, absolutely.
And sometimes,
sorry, what?
Yeah.
Not for us full-time podcasters.
And that sacrifices, and I think if you have not issues, but if you're so busy doing the hobby, and then your kind of outside life suffers as a result, I think your hobby suffers as well. So it wasn't something I chose to do. But having, had it thrust upon me, it's definitely been positive. So I'm looking forward to next year, picking the things I want to do. No,
everyone needs a little break every now and then. I mean, we had a break from the show, didn't we, briefly, just because life didn't allow for it. And I certainly feel like we're better for it. So, yeah. And I know a few years ago when I first met my wife and I was work, I had it wasn't a few years ago, it was 11, 12 now, but I had a bit of a break for it for 6-7 months, and it did me well then. I come straight back into it. I even played Lord of the Rings, as listeners will remember my story. I'm sure I've wheeled out enough times of me at the Lord of the Rings Grand Tournament. So that was good. What about you, Wayne? What else did you have on your naughty list then? Let's have one offer there.
I love Twitter. When I first got into Twitter, and I was banging on phrases on it. I'm not doing Twitter.
Yeah.
It's rubbish, blah, blah, blah. And I got into it. And now I love it. I do on Twitter every day. I love it, right? But I'd say my naughty thing is telling people what I'm going to do. Because obviously I want people to know, because of the show, the Twitter's a tool for the show, and I want everyone to know what I'm working on and what I'm doing. But it works against you because you go, right, I'm going to do lizards, and then you do I did one unit of skinks, and then people sent me some Croxicle, and which I've cleaned up and they're glued together and they're based and they're ready to go. But then you kind of I get hobby wobbles all the time, which everyone knows. So then suddenly, boom, I'm off that. Right, I'm doing this now, and I'll do a bit of that. Right, I'm doing this now, and you kind of think, hang about, I'm telling, basically, you're telling the world that you're an idiot, right? That you can't concentrate on any one thing. I'd say that's definitely something that I need to. It's kind of a double-edged sword because I do want everyone to know what I'm working on because thankfully, there's a lot of people that are interested in what I'm doing and the projects, and it's good to take pictures of what you're doing and painting and modelling and all this kind of stuff. But at the same time, for the outside, they must be looking going, how many models has this bloke got? How many projects has he got on the go? Because it does look a mess. I mean, if you went back through my whole feed of pictures, it must look like just a hobby car crash.
Yeah.
Because I haven't actually stuck to any one thing for more than a month, I don't think.
You say car crash. I could use another word that we can't use on a family-friendly show, but let's say a gathering of lots of stuff having a good time. That's the kind of hobby sort of feel I get from it. If you flick through your photos, you'd think, wow, this guy he's all over the show. He's into everything. I think it's a good thing, certainly for the show, because I know sometimes we can get stuck, as all shows do, talking about what we're from a viewpoint of what race we're doing, but you've been doing a lot hobby. In certain areas. I know many years ago we started this, I was only playing lizardmen. You think of all the races I've played since. We've had a good time to sort of reel through some of them over the years, and the same with you. You've been playing. You had a bit with Tomb Kings, Demons in recent times, Bretonians, Skaven. What else did you get out? You've had loads of stuff out, haven't you? So
yeah, I think since we've been doing a show, it's the painting projects have been Tomb Kings, Skaven, obviously. I started a bit on Beastmen. Bretonians, did I say Demons, Chaos Warriors. I even got the Dark Elves out and I painted a couple of Hydras. I think the only armies I haven't done a mod, even High Elves. I painted a couple of High Elf models. I think the only armies I haven't touched since we've been doing the show is Dwarves.
That's next year.
Yeah. And Wood Elves. I've never painted a Wood Elf in my life. So
sacrilege.
So I'm really looking forward to the Wood Elf book coming out because I actually want to do Wood Elves because it's something I've never done. It will be completely fresh. I'll have nothing previous to go by. So that'd be great.
Excellent. Well, that nicely feeds on to one of my good points actually, which was that I've played another race this year. When I look back on this year and I think, what have I done? I played another race during the year. I mean, again, going back from if I think. I've played Lizardmen, obviously, Bretonians. I played Demons at the Six Nations. I've played Empire this year. I've played Skaven. I'm sure there's some other ones I've played as well. What else have I played recently? Obviously, the Vampires. So I've been through quite a few races recently, and it's always nice, I think, to play something competitively that you haven't played before. And I'm not just talking about having a couple of games with it. I'm talking 50-plus games. And, the Empire, I got the chance to do it badly. That was the flip side. It was good that I played another race, but I was also naughty because I didn't feel like I did myself justice at the ETC with my results on it, albeit all the other factors we've spoke about before, about how the draw works and all the rest of it. But ultimately, that wasn't particularly great. But I did really enjoy playing the Empire and an army. I've got most of it sitting next to Wayne actually at the moment that I would like to revisit at some time. But I always think that's nice to notch another race. I mean, you've played a lot, Brian, as well, haven't you? And it's always good. I think you were. What was it you had? Is it how many trophies of best in race?
I think it was 8 or 9 in a row.
I think possibly maybe I might have counted it before, but it was about 8 or 9. Yeah, 8 or 9 best different races, wasn't it? It was that in a year. Yeah. I love he's just like, well, if you're going to mention it, then it was with a couple of photos.
Is that what the aim is, to have all 14?
That was the aim.
Yeah.
But it's such hard work in terms of painting.
Well, you only got 5 more to get. You've got time.
Yeah, it was kind of the idea when I started it was basically to go to each tournament with a different race, win best in race, and then turn up at the next tournament with something different. But it's such hard work. You're constantly, the tournament's the easy bit. It's the buying the models, cleaning them, preparing them, designing the list, painting it. It's going back to that treadmill. You're just, but you're not jogging. You're running at a sprint all the time. Because you're doing to get it done. You're going to a tournament every 4 or 5 weeks. So as soon as you get back, you're starting on the next one.
Yeah, it's a tough old race. But I mean, that I think that's a great thing. But I do think that it's good in this kind of game, especially if you play it over a lot of years, to just keep it fresh and play something new. And it also, if it helps if you're looking to improve your game, I think it helps from just a different play style and understanding. I mean, Empire's a good one for me because psychologically, I'm not talking about my psychological, but psychologically in the game with the low leadership and the average stats and lack of, say, re-rolls, or that you can get the magic and stuff that does it, it's interesting to play. Because if you've played like demons all your life, or vampires, or lizard men, or, you know, I quite frequent lizards and vampires over the years, playing Empire is a world of difference. I mean, DTC is a good example. That one game I was playing, and it was a 9 re-rollable when everything's off the board.
Yeah.
You know, you just don't have that if you're playing some of the other lists out there. So, yeah, it was interesting. So that was one of mine. What else did you have then, Brian?
I didn't have another positive, but a negative, dropping out of tournaments.
Yeah.
So this year I had to drop out of the ETC. Had to drop, I think, out of the Meltdown, and then we dropped out of one in December.
Oh, yeah, we did. We had to drop to Bjorn late.
Yeah. You know, all unavoidable. But it's a bit of a pet hate of mine, people doing it generally. And to do 3 in a year, especially the ETC, it wasn't great. It's not something I, you know, tends to be, you know, when I book for a tournament, I kind of, there's a 99.9% certainty I'm going to turn up. There are some people on the scene that kind of serial drop out.
I think I've done it twice. I did it at Bjorn, and I've done it many years ago at, was it a Sheffield I did, where you guys were going to go and had to drop? It was. I had to do, for some reason, I had to drop a Sheffield. I think it was work.
Booked us into a god-awful hotel.
I remember that.
Me and Alan went up without you, didn't we?
Yeah, we went with Russ.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was a negative. You know, it annoys me when other people do it. You never really know whether it's a good reason or not. But yeah, this year I had to do it 3 times, and the ETC hurt dropping out of the ETC.
No, yeah, I can imagine. It's always. I'd imagine it's. I remember. I've not done it and then not done it, but I'd imagine that doing it and not doing it's worse than when I've been sitting at home wanting to do it.
Yeah.
So, I can feel your pain. You got any naughty ones then, Wayne? Anything else on your naughty list? Have you covered them? I've lost track as we've been going around and darting all over the place.
Yeah, I need to get to the club more. I need to get more games in general. I've said this so many times on the show, but I need to play more. I think if I played a lot, I think I could, you know, be an average player. I think I could.
I could be a player. I could be a contender.
Yeah, player.
What's that? I can't even do the Chris Eubank.
No, but I think I could actually go to tournaments and actually, you know, the list design would get better for a start, because obviously you'd be playing more games and you'd understand what you're up against better, and you know, and it becomes better for it.
Yeah.
So I
think that's only true though if you get the wide variety of opponents. That's the other thing about it.
Or you play, or if you haven't got a wide variety of opponents, you play good players.
Yeah.
You know, I'm lucky in the sense that I can play you guys who are both good players, who both played at the sort of, you know, top level, and you play, and you know about, you know, loads of the other armies. I mean, you know, you, Brian, I mean, you've played with nearly all of them, haven't you? So
yeah, pretty much.
So I mean, the opportunity for me to play at a higher level is there, and it has been there for a long time. But I just haven't sort of taken the opportunity, which is a bit wasteful of me, really, because I get all the time in the world to do my hobby, because I can actually do it at work and at home, and you know, and that's great. So I should make more time to play and actually try to actually be half decent at the game. You know, there's no reason for me not to be. I mean, at the end of the day, I could play like 100 games over a short period of time and still be rubbish, you know what I mean? But I haven't found that out yet. You know, that might be something that just comes and just, you're okay, but you're never going to be any better than what you are. That's all there is to it.
A bit like we were talking on the Saucy show about painting, and can anybody be good at painting? I honestly think anybody can be good at this game as well, with enough practice and with a list that suits them. You've seen so many people come in fresh from the scene. I mean, Brian's a good example of that. You came in fresh from the scene, didn't you? And then you had that bedding period that everyone has. What do you think the time difference was? Was it 2 years before entering and winning?
Yeah,
that's normally the case, isn't it?
Yeah, to be two and a half years. Yeah,
and that's pretty swift. I think if you have to really play a lot and put your mind to it, but it is about a 2 year gap. I think both me and Russ had similar things when we came back. I mean, mine was like a re-entry, but after a long break. But I'm sure it was about a 2 year sort of playing span before you start to win and podium, and then it's a case of, are you keeping up? Because you see so many top players of the past petering around the middle tables because they just don't play that much anymore, and that doesn't mean they're suddenly any worse. It just means that, and for me, that goes to show that while you still maintain the skill, you've either not got the desire or you're not playing enough to. Sometimes you get caught out. I mean, you can get caught out at tournaments, can't you, with combos?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that's just a play-in and a knowledge and a have you been keeping up to date with everything type thing. That's nothing to do with your playing ability, is it? If someone goes, oh yes, I've got the pendant of Caliph, and you go, the what? Not that exists anymore. So if any new listeners are listening, it was a Dark Elf item from the old book. But
spells are the worst one for me because you don't get the level of games. It's the amount of different spells, and sometimes it's like really obvious combos, which who you're playing against does it every single game. But I haven't seen it. I think the funniest one was when the Mist and Shadows.
Oh yeah, Cloak of Mist and Shadows.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Is it Mist and Shadows? What's the lore attribute? Shadow lore.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And someone did that against me, and I was
Cloak
like, "You what?
Cloak. No,
it's not the cloak.
Smoke and Mirrors.
Smoke and Mirrors.
Yeah,
right. So someone pulled that against me and did it. And then when I told you about it, you just laughed. You laughed your head off because you're like, "Don't you know anything? You've never seen that before?" Like, no one's ever done it. Like, when I've played, no one's ever done it against me. So it's little things like that, which to most players, to all players that play regular, they're just obvious things. They just kind of like They know it's coming. They've seen it. They know what's going on. I should know that stuff by now.
But as you say, I think that this is the key thing with this hobby. And one of the beautiful things about it is, if you decide to turn the notch up, you can. Like you say, the hobby doesn't go anywhere. We're not here for a brief time. And providing the game and Games Workshop carry on producing games, and the tournament scene carries on, at any point you want to sort of test yourself and your ability, you've got the ability just to turn it up and do 6 months of playing more and doing tournaments to see how it goes, haven't you? So it is the beauty of it. It's not like like football. If you decided that you couldn't be bothered in your 20s and you got to your 30s and then that's it, you can't run as quick. I'm sure there's probably got to be something to do with age. Your mental ability drops down a bit when you're older, but I don't know. I think with Warhammer, experience is a massive, massive part of it. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see in 20 odd years' time if some of the top Warhammer players have still got it at the highest level. So there you go. Whether they're being done by young whippersnappers. So no, that's good. What have you got? Anything else on your list while we're with you? Goods or bads?
I think I've done the 3 noughties ever.
Yeah. What about you, Brian? You got anything else on your list?
I've got one, but it's a hobby one.
Go on,
I think
we like hobby ones.
Warriors of Chaos was the hobby bad. I think as a book, that was a huge missed opportunity. I think there was a chance there to get to make Warriors of Chaos themselves important, and I think it was just missed. I think of all the new books that have come out, that's the one that just doesn't really fit in. I think.
Do you think that's a Games Workshop's naughty list?
Yeah. I think Core Chariots. I think the Demon Prince being as good as it is, not that they're not that the book's broken, but. Yeah,
there's a lot of things in combination.
Yeah, but it's a real shame that Warriors of Chaos themselves, they're good, but I just would have loved to have seen that be about warriors. Yeah. That's the title of the book. I would have loved to have seen it be about warriors.
Well, it's like Warriors of. It's like if lizard men, if skinks weren't lizard men, it's a similar thing. The only Saurus you tend to see are the ones riding back of cold ones out on their own. A bit like Warriors, the only ones you see are the ones on the back of the chariots, isn't it? It's a bit. It doesn't quite work.
And I think that for me it just felt like, because I love the Warriors. Not I think they're just awesome. They're the story, the way they kind of. They're like the champions of the tribe, and they put their armor on. They can't take it off, and they're like eternal heroes. And you kind of go back to the earlier editions, and they were better than other races' characters in early editions of the game. Yeah, it's a shame that they didn't go down that path. I think when you play them, it's not that they're great. It's just not a fun game. I don't find playing them. I just. Not a competitive build. I
think if you had a lot of anti-armour, you're probably going to have a good game. If you don't, it can be very, very one-sided. I mean, Skaven and a sort of a net list army is a very good example of that. You've got a couple of tricks. If it don't work, you're not really playing the game as a Skaven player. You're just sitting there hoping they can't get through your slaves. It's a bit, and it's probably the same if you're a Wood Elf player, but I suppose that's probably a Wood Elf player has that a lot anyway. But that kind of thing.
I think it's because... they don't really shoot very much. Their magic can be good, but it's not really what they're all about. I think it's the fact that they're so mobile. They fight 1 or 2 fights where they just mob you with a group of units, and effectively they can just clear off. Certainly if you're playing in a win-loss draw or an ETC type environment, that just doesn't make for a very interesting game. It's not about them being really good. because anybody can play. You know, you go to a tournament, anybody can play with any race. So you know that kind of this book's better than that book argument that I don't really hold much to, because anybody can choose to play with anything. I just think they're not very good for the hobby in that they the way they play doesn't play like anything else.
I honestly, me and Dan spoke about this the other day, right? If we could change stuff, and I honestly think with Monstrous Cavalry in general, and especially with the Chaos Warriors.
Oh! So we segueing now. We segueing onto your top 5 Christmas wish list now, yeah.
Okay.
So go on and go.
Number 1 by a mile would be get rid of the 1+ armor save.
Yeah.
If you got rid of the 1+ armor save, it would have a massive improvement of the game.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't worry about Juggers so much, because Strength 4 would matter. Shooting would matter. You know, just normal volley fire, you know, at Juggers would matter. Against Knights it would matter. You know, in general, it would have a very, very positive effect on the game overall to not allow anything to have a 1-up save.
No, I actually think, I know I was joking to wind you up about it on the show, but I do think the Strength 4 is so devalued in this edition.
Yeah.
Well, in lots of editions, you know, suddenly Saurus, Phoenix Guard, all these underused units would be a lot better, I think, if Strength 4 meant something against these armour. I mean, Juggernauts, 1-up save. All right, I've used Demigriffs, so I'm not going to stand there and say
same thing,
that,
You just got to. I mean, with the Empire, because you've got, you know, you've got cannons, you've got light cavalry, you've got heavy cavalry, you've got foot troops, you've got every. You know, in an Empire army, you've got a bit of everything, right? So, it's not such a. I mean, people that use Demigriffs, you know, and they are their sort of crutch. Yeah, they're going to moan like hell, saying, "Oh, I know they've got to have a 1-up save," and also it would create better lists. Because if suddenly the warrior players didn't have to, you know, suddenly thought, Juggers ain't as good as they used to be. Knights ain't as good as they used to be. And they start thinking that way. They're going to start writing different lists. And then you're going to see the warriors come back into the list because they're going to want ranks and they're going to want, you know, that block in the middle. Or you might even see like, you probably wouldn't see Marauders because they're overpriced, I think. By the time you give them any kit, they're just overpriced. I mean, that's the one thing I think they really...
I think they're probably they're slightly too expensive, but I think they're also appropriately priced. But unfortunately, they don't feature in the book because everything else is so good.
Yeah.
And because if you look at a lot of stuff, Games Workshop have done a reasonable job, I think, of overpricing all the infantry basically, so that it's a problem across the board. I think the problem with Warriors, you don't need the infantry because the core chariot, they haven't got a core tax the same as everybody else, where you're paying 600 points for stuff that doesn't really do a lot, but because you have chariots.
No, and the chariots contribute to the problem in the army, which is really mobile and it just does its own thing, kind of irregardless. I think I don't have a problem with 1-up saves at all. I think the issue is there's no downside to them. So there used to be in the old editions, the better your armor save, the more of an impediment there was to your movement value.
So like, was it heavy armor and shield on foot was the -1 move?
Yeah. So you know if so you take a horse, movement 8, so if it's barred in its movement 7, if it's got a 1-up save, if it was movement 6 or even movement 5, that could have a difference because that would give you more time to shoot at them. It would mean they could
fail more charges.
They fail more charges, etc., etc. That for me,
I don't think that make any difference.
Okay.
Because
fight.
No. I'll say explain. Yeah. I don't think that would make any difference because when you do shoot at these things, they don't do anything to them. So having an extra turn is not going to make any difference.
Yeah, it's a fair. You know? I don't have a problem with them, but I think my problem is not the same as yours. I'm fine with having them there. My problem is that there's no downside. You know, I know elf cavalry's very fast, but generally there's no downside. You know, maybe they're not expensive enough. Maybe they move too quickly. I don't have a problem. I think it kind of reflects the difference of it's a little bit armor. I mean, at least we haven't got 0+ saves that we used to have,
or -1 saves.
Yeah. Which were ridiculous.
Yeah,
but I absolutely see the argument because again, some people, some armies that you might choose to choose to play with, just 1-up saves. You just it's a waste of your life rolling the dice to try and wound them.
I think the problem with the Elven cavalry really is that you're almost better off being. I mean, the Warriors have got it on those Juggernauts. Have got it every which way. They're very well pointed. They've got all the stats in the world, and they're a 1+ save. The Demigriffs, because of the magic support and the Hurricaneum of bits and pieces, can be very effective in combination. But I also think they're not as good. but the 1-up saves helps them because they've got average stats, so you've got like a bit of a trade-off. And the Knights are the same, the Empire Knights, they don't kill enough, so I'm not that bothered about it. I think it's when you've got it all, like your 1-up save Scar vets at 85 points seem really underpriced. In your and again, weapon skill 5, toughness 5, strength 5, all that kind of stuff. And then you look at the what else has got a 1-up save? Of course, it always goes back to warriors, but the warriors heroes that run around with a 1-up save on demon steeds.
But they're quite expensive compared to like I think they're appropriately costed compared to a Scarvet. They're knocking on twice the price of a Scarvet by the time you've given them.
I think Lizardman players would then say, well, the internal balance of the book's out because if they weren't cheap, you'd struggle to spend your points. Basically, you wouldn't get what you wanted.
But I don't have a fundamental problem with a 1-up save, but I absolutely see from your point of view, especially knowing the armies you play with.
You think my elite is storm vermin?
Yeah,
strength 4 does make a blind bit of difference.
No. I do think that can get frustrating. I could definitely see that. The way that you like playing with blocks and you see it as a block thing and all the rest of it. And unfortunately,
with Escape as well, there's no way of buffing the units.
Interesting.
I can give them poison attacks if I take Plague, but that's the Plague deck. But that's it.
I'm going to segue to one of my changes, which is infantry with anti-cavalry weapons should be better against cavalry.
Yeah, halberds,
spears, halberds. So kind of to balance that, if spears were AP against cavalry. Or had +1 strength when cavalry charged them.
Yeah.
Or, something along... Because that's always been a fundamental problem in the game is cavalry are always going to struggle to hurt 1-up save things.
Infantry, you mean?
Infantry are going to always struggle to hurt cavalry because they're good saves, even with the 2-up, But
I always thought halberds should be armour piercing.
Yeah. I mean, bill hooks.
Just because, the whole kind of, it's a weighted, it's basically an axe on a big
now
on a big
gives
pole.
You strength 4, though, which is really useful. Oh, wait.
No,
exactly.
But
so if they were strength 4 armour piercing,
that's it.
-2, it's the same thing, isn't it? It would create that same kind of balance.
You look at the bill hook, the traditional kind of British version of the halberd, that was specifically designed to pull knights off horses and then crack them open. So I think that's always been a failing of the rules. There's never been a good representation. I mean, we had kind of pikes, but they were just better against everybody when they charged. I think giving the ability for standard infantry weapons to not be any better against other infantry, but for cavalry, especially if the cavalry charged them, I think that would be a good change to the rules. And it's not particularly difficult. And I don't think you'd have to adjust anyone's points values because if you've got spears... every race has got the ability to have spears, pretty much, so everybody would get the benefit. And halberds the same. I think even just spears and halberds would probably be enough.
But then again, if you had an Empire troop or a clan rat with spears fighting juggers and they had armour piercing, it wouldn't make any difference.
No, not at the moment.
No, but if you had armour piercing and then the clan rat's got +1 strength on the turn that the juggers charged them to represent the fact that, if you're charging at spears, you're going to impale yourself on
so you'd get both, you mean?
You'd get both, potentially. But it'd only be against cavalry. Something like that would actually make a difference.
Again, it's a game change. It says as meta changer possibly, isn't it? So it's just about shifting it because actually, I don't think they're that much of a problem. They're a problem because everybody takes them. And it turns the game a little bit into 7th edition style, multiple small units, MSU as it's normally called. And it almost turns it a little bit more rock scissors. So you play a Warriors player at the moment. If you've got an Empire list with a couple of cannons and a light council, they don't want to play you. There's a chance they're just going to get taken off, bang, out the game. But then if they play a Skaven player, the Skaven player's got not a lot of chance other than a cannon going through something early on. And they're probably not going to get smashed 20-0, but if they're good, but they're not going to win the game either. So, and the Lizardman player's doing the same. He's just delaying them and hoping that the death magic comes. And it's that kind of, you're not really playing a game then, are you? You're seeing which one of your tricks is going to work. And I think that's the problem with them. But
and you have them really boring lists when you've got just a load of slaves sitting in front of your opponent.
Yeah, of course. Because
if you had a rule like the +1 strength and the armour piercing for the spears, suddenly you see a load of clan rats.
Well, the same as you look at Saurus. If Saurus was strength 4 and spears gave armour piercing against cavalry or something, you think, actually, they might be the multiple attacks. They stand around for a long time. They might be useful. Suddenly you might see him a bit more. Now you think, well, what is the point in having these? What do they do? And diehards, I would still use Saurus because I've always used them and I think they're great. I don't think they're amazing though. And if you really looked at it in the cold, this is the most competitive list. Everything's got to do something in the current meta game for this tournament. You wouldn't have them. Does it do anything? Same as you wouldn't bother with your storm vermin unless they're just points that are pushing a bell or saving up your core.
Yeah.
Like how many lists do you see with clan rats in these days? Not that many on the competitive one I'm talking about. For a similar reason. Everything has to do something, and because everybody's using these units, they don't do anything. So interestingly enough. So my number one change was cannons.
You hate cannons.
I've used them.
You're always moaning. You're moaning about when you're using them, saying how rubbish they are, or moaning out how great they are when you're against them.
My biggest one is the ability to snipe characters, though. I don't like it because anybody who hasn't got anything else to shoot at, top of your Vampire Lord's head, and okay, I'm playing vampires. I'm slightly biased, but I've also been an Empire player, and I've sniped out loads of characters because you get nothing else to do. Statistically, you should do it if you just fire 2 cannons at them consistently, or 3 if you've got a steam tank, or 3 cannons. And it's just horrible for your opponent because, like you've played Skaven, how important is your general is so important to the game and your enjoyment of the game. And just being able to kill him by doing nothing but saying 10 from the back.
But I feel the same way about death magic.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Does exactly the same thing. They come in, eventually they'll pop that spell at the end of the game for the Skaven player.
Well, there you go. That can go in your list. Please, Christmas star, wish, delete death magic.
Bit extreme.
yeah. Well, there you go. Press the delete button, Control D. I would like to see cannons changed. I mean, am I alone there, or do you find cannons a problem, Brian?
I think, cannons and some of the other war machines in the game versus ballistic skill shooting. That was what's on my list, is the disparity between the two. So you look at a bolt thrower, for example, a 70-point bolt thrower, and 120-point cannon, whatever they are. The cannon is, more than twice as good as the bolt thrower.
But they went up, and all the Empire players cried because they went up 20 points.
Yeah, but I mean, as you say, with a bolt thrower, you can't snipe characters out of units. If you've got a dragon, you can do things to make the dragon harder to hit. A cannon, just if it can see you,
you're dead.
Yeah.
Well,
if you can see you, there's no negative effect of whether you're near, far, whether you've moved.
So your way you could clear that up is if you had, if it was a template weapon, you get your lookout sir. But if it was a bolt thrower or a cannon, which is in a straight line, then there is no lookout sir. You pass it automatically.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, they just removed the fact that you don't take lookout, sir. So, I suppose the only one is, or you just get lookout, sir, if you're outside the unit. But if you're in the unit, there's no way you can get hit. You'll always be presumed that your comrades will warn you in advance, or the massive bodies would mean that one will never get hit, or something like that, or make it some stupidly low chance of it happening. So it could do, but it wouldn't be worth somebody shooting a cannon at you all the time for that reason. I don't know, but I like that idea, Brian. I think I miss ballistic skill shooting from the game. Obviously, I'm a bit of a shooting fan, but I don't like playing Empire without. I used to love the whole look of the army with 30 crossbows, or but it being enough that you didn't want to load up on it, but it was just a nice. For me, it always just looked nice, and I think a lot of armies you don't see it. You see it in the High Elves, I think probably the most, because and maybe even the Dark Elves. I haven't seen a lot of Dark Elves, but your core is a good choice to fill your core with.
Yeah. But and obviously the lizards.
Yeah, but
that doesn't really count as ballistic skill shooting because it's all about rolling 6s for poison.
Yeah, it's the Yartsian. But you and you see it in the Wood Elves because they've got nothing else basically to take. But
I think it's it's a careful balance. Cannons are too far. Cannons win games. I wouldn't want ballistic skill shooting to win games. Maybe if every model in your army could shoot, but then you're running the risk that if anything gets into combat with you, you're just going to get blown away. So that's kind of an extreme build. But I just would want it to be 20% better than it is. Ballistic skill shooting, just that bit more effective across the game. I think then
maybe even take long range off, because the game's so quick these days that maybe long range isn't important because you're only getting a couple of rounds of shooting. So does it need to be in there? I don't know.
Or +1 at short range. So flip it. So instead of a negative for being at long range, you get a positive for being at short range. I don't know. It doesn't have to be, because it's very careful. Yeah, you have to be very careful because obviously with armies you can take lots of shots.
You skews it.
You could have a massive difference. But that for me would be, looking at the armies that have only got access to bolt throwers versus armies that have got access to cannons. I mean, there's just no comparison.
No, especially not if your cannon happens to be 15 points more than the Empire one, and also be a killing blow chariot and ward save and all the rest of it.
Mr.
Skull cannon.
The fact that and none of the bolt throwers can really move and shoot. You've got those other, but just taking that out, just a cannon versus a bolt thrower or 2 bolt throwers, kind of the cost. Generally, the cannon is going to be more value than the 2 bolt throwers.
What I find amazing is just if you think about some of the things we've had this edition, we were all screaming about iron blasters when they come out, like, oh my god, how can they justify that cost? And then of course the skull cannon comes out, and it's like, they thought that again was okay. Does make it cheaper, yeah. I don't know. It's crazy, but those things aside, I think that's the problem as well. Is it's extra bad because those 2 items, the skull cannon and the iron blaster, move and fire, so they're even better because you can't really charge them anything because they'll beat it off. And the fact that they just got there's so many options to move down the side and shoot something, or move, but you can't hide necessarily because they can move and shoot you. So I don't know.
I think they'd still be good. Just being able to move as quick as they could, even if they were move or fire, just their ability to redeploy, they would still be really good in the game.
Yeah, not be charged off by Furies or an Eagle or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you put your cannon down, and I've seen people move war machines, but it's not very often it happens. It's usually because they put it in the wrong place. But I just think the ability, like Bronzino's galloping guns, the ability, and it was, in warfare, the ability to redeploy your artillery versus having static artillery was massive. So I think that would be an advantage of enough for them. That's a simple rules change.
Or just price them out, put 50 points on top of them all, and then they wouldn't. The people would still take them.
Yeah, but I think if they couldn't shoot when they moved, they'd still be good because they're still a chariot. They're still hard to take out. They can still move around. I think they're a bit too easy to use. I think they can't. You don't even have to deploy them well.
I agree. What else did you have on your list then, Wayne? Anything interesting?
Yeah, I cannot understand why all assassins in the game haven't got killing blow.
That is cool. I like that. That's just a common sense one, isn't it? But
why haven't they got killing blow? Their whole purpose is to kill things. That's what they're trained to do from birth, as the fluff goes. And they haven't got killing blow. Just, I don't get that. I've never got that.
I like that. Short, sweet, to the point, and no one knows the correct answer. So there you go.
Another one is, considering what they're all about, why haven't Plague Monks got poison attacks?
Yeah, I always get confused.
That doesn't make any sense at all whatsoever.
I always have to ask even as a Skaven player, a long-term Skaven player, I still have to ask people who use them because I haven't used them since 5th. They have poison, right? No. They've got a plague banner, but it's not poison.
Yeah. They've got the spell to give them poison.
Yeah.
Which should be like up it to a 5+. Yeah. And then suddenly you've got this strength 3 unit, loads of attacks, but then it's got the ability to wound, make a lot of wounds on 6s. I mean, obviously, the 1-up arms, because you say Plague Monks, you're fighting like jugglers or demigriffs and stuff like that. They're just pounding away on them all day long, aren't they? Nothing. No, they don't ever wound them. Might get a couple if they're very, very lucky, but that's about it. Never really understood that. So, so there's 2 more.
I like it. Yeah, I would like to see 5 more scenarios in the rulebook when they release it. So I want to see 10, so we don't have. Is it 6 we've got now? Yes. It's 1 for every game of the Games Workshop tournament. No, Games Workshop tournament's only 5, isn't it? But it's just 6. I don't know. I'd like to see 10. So 4 more then. I'd like to see 10, I think, just so you had a bit more variety to pick. I know we got some more in the real size rule book, so you got more in the back. But I'd like to see some more that Games Workshop put out that are kind of official. I know we can all make our own, but it's quite nice to have official ones to be able to play. And I do feel like we have played, albeit in tournaments at the beginning of 8th, then there's been a bit of resurgence of late, but I certainly feel like I've played the ones in the book to death. I mean, when 8th came out, I played a lot of Warhammer. We did weekends. I know we come down to yours, didn't we, Brian, and just played scenarios out of the book, tournaments all around there. We had a weekend at UK #1 Russ Veal's house where we just played scenarios out of the book, and I feel like we've played them to death now. So I'd like some more. The main one, silly things, like I just like... and it's sort of the same point here. I don't want them to reinvent the wheel with if this next edition is on the cards. I really think this is the best edition of Warhammer. It needs a few tweaks and keep doing what they're doing. Concentrate on the campaign packs and padding the game out for me. And when we talk about Triumph and Treachery later in the Story of the Week, Wayne, when you can tell us about it, and I know I'm going to speak to Chris Tomlin about it when we speak to him, but because him and his gaming group have been up to it as well. But spend the time on these things. Don't spend the time changing the game drastically. All I've seen is people moan about 40k and the direction it's taken now, and I don't want that to be Warhammer. I don't want a mass exodus again, or I'm sure there's going to be loads of people moan whatever, and I'm sure you and me will still be playing it. But don't reinvent the wheel. Just firm out things like combat reforms. There's always the same questions that pop up. Unmodified leadership, what is it? These kind of things. Just sort those out and put the game back out for me, and that's bung a load of more artwork models and some bits and bobs in there, and I'm away. Take out the Crown of Command out of the, do you know, like the silly things that get overused, the +1 leadership banner. I really like that, but whether they take it out because it's every army has it or nearly every army has it, I don't know, those kind of things. Just tweak it, change dwellers, put a lookout sir on dwellers. Or if I could go through the rule book, I reckon I could improve the game in half an hour. By just a few small tweaks. I'm not saying it would solve it, but for me, it would improve or change a lot of the things just by literally take that out, reword that, do that, and that's what I hope they do. That was my main wish list. You got anything else, guys?
Yeah, I've got two more. One following on from you. I think putting back in victory points at the end of the game for controlling table quarters.
Yeah,
I think that made the game better.
Would be good with fortitude as well, maybe.
Yeah. Some, a unit with a banner gives you. I think it just encouraged people to play a more diverse game. The other one for me is I'd like to see a new race.
Oh yeah,
I'd like to see
Fishmen.
No. I'd like to see. I think it's good when they expand, because it expands when they add a race. Like when they added ogres, it allows the whole universe, if you like, to expand. I'd like to see Cathy or Ind.
I always thought
they've had them.
Do you think with Triumph and Treachery they might bring Dogs of War back because of the mercenaries?
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of Tilia,
but
that's going down towards Ind, isn't it? Really, you could. I think,
but that kind of expansion would be great. You think it like Storm of Magic, that I know is really underused. Wayne, when for you haven't played it yet, and we've got to get a game into this, just to play it. But there's a whole bunch, isn't there, of scrolls of binding and extra units. I'd like to see that's where they put their focus. Do a new book, a mercenary book. Everyone for Triumph and Treachery, and even your games, use them as allies, whatever. People don't have to use them for tournaments if they don't want to, but having that,
because they could all be like regiments of renown, couldn't they?
Like
all the different races,
but something else,
and then you can make up out of the current ranges, and then have mercenaries from Ind, mercenaries from Cathay and Tylia, and all that kind of stuff, and it'd be brilliant. And then they can actually bring out like box sets which are like the old regiments of renown. That'd be brilliant.
Well, I don't know if you guys seen the Bellacore stuff that's out recently. You seen this?
I've not seen the scroll, but I'm aware of it.
We missed this in the news. Basically, they is it electronic only?
Yes.
I think it is. Yes. Again, more digital product. They've released like a little pack you buy, and it gives you the rules for Bellacore and how you use him in an army. And I think that the impression we get, I think this is the first of a set of kind, is they're going to do this a lot, where you can buy like a pack that gives you additional rules for something, be it like a themed list or something like that. That's certainly the impression we get from seeing this one product.
If you use Bellacore, you've got to have certain things in the army, have you?
Yeah, I don't know with Bellacore, but
Bellacore's a lord in. You can take him as lord choice in either the warriors.
But
or
I think
demons,
they've given you the way they do like the format of it seems to be people are reading into that they're going to be releasing a few of these, and you can use with this army, and you can use this selection of units, so it almost takes you down a theme route, or this is how this guy works, and just so you can basically buy little bits of rules. I quite like that. It's a bit like a lot of games online use that kind of microtransaction model, so where you
in the same way it's like Queek or Scroll or Frot, where you kind of like you take one of those, you get the army changes slightly because
I think it's kind of like you buy an attachment. So it'd be like you wouldn't buy Queek, you buy Queek, and
dudes,
you'd have to take a unit of giant rats and a unit of rat ogres, and that. So
you mean Storm?
I think they were calling them.
I
think they're calling them like formations or something. But I haven't had the chance to have a look at it because I haven't spent the money or had the time. But I do want to see some more of this. But that kind of thing for me is where I hope they take the game, not changing the core rule set or doing anything wildly crazy, like removing points values or that kind of that kind of stuff.
But I think either of those two I'd really like to, because I think new army books do it, but I think having a new race, if it's done well, it's a chance to completely change the meta. And if they go somewhere where they haven't been before, I mean, I think, and I'm a Chaos Dwarf fan, but they just did an abortion of a job on the Chaos Dwarfs.
Well, they didn't do one, did they?
No.
Forge World wanted to put something out.
It's just a strange army, isn't it?
Yeah,
I've played it against it a couple of times now, and it's just kind of...
It doesn't know what it wants to be.
I
don't think it is meant to be an army, though, is it? It's almost meant to be part of a campaign pack with warriors, and people are using it on their own, which is fine, but I don't know.
I think Chaos Dwarfs belong in the game. I don't think that list belongs in the game. I think that's my viewpoint.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'd like to see, like the old Warhammer armies where you had, we talked about this before, but you have like all the lists at the beginning of the book. And then at the back of the book, you've got ally contingents of all those races again. But obviously the ally contingents are slightly different. They're kind of a watered down version of the main list. So you've got that. So like normal Warhammer would be kind of like Triumph of Treachery with the mercenaries, where you can go, right, I'm taking a 2,500 point list. 2,000 is going to be my main list. 500 points is going to be my mercenary allies. They obviously have to be the same, kind of like a force of destruction.
Yeah, I think that's the key, is not opening up massively. Because I saw some of those ones I saw in Triumph and Treachery and White Dwarf I thought were odd. Like you just had a Hierophant and a Sphinx. It just looked odd. I don't like that. Yeah. But if it was ogres in an Empire army, brilliant, makes total sense. That kind of thing. I think
as long as you keep that balance. I mean, you wouldn't have high elves with dark elf allies. You know what I mean? So as long as you keep that balance, I think it could be brilliant.
I think it used to be, I could be wrong, is that if you allied with the old allies rules, if you allied in, if it was a core choice, but you were allying in, it became a special.
Yeah, it was something like that. I do remember.
So you could never ally in a rare, but if you allied in a special, it became a rare. Maybe that was it. That was the old ogre rules when the ogres first came out. I think you could take them in any book, and that was the rules that they had.
You might be right. Yeah.
But I think
remember that rule.
Something like that would make sense, because it would mean you could never ally in a rare. Because they're often the things that...
So you can put 2 skull cannons in your vampire list, but
I'm not sure about the whole...
Triumph and Treachery, can you do that?
Yeah. Not sure about the whole allies thing, but if it was something like that, but I would just love to see new, well done, for the quality they've done elsewhere, not done by Forge World, who should just stick to making models. That's what they seem to be really good at. I'd like to see that.
If you could pick for next year, one either old box set that got revamped models, or a character, or something new, what would it be? If you could choose one thing that they made, model wise. One
model that Games Workshop made. I'd like to see Empire Knights being redone.
Yeah, that would be. Yeah, they're quite dated now.
Them or Tomb Kings. I'd like to see the Tomb King skeletons be redone, but it's never going to happen. I know, but yeah, they.
I still really like those.
I do like the skeletons. It's the horsemen that I just find odd. But yeah, I'd quite like Empire Knights. I think they're quite old. I think they could do with a bit of a revamp. They would probably be one of the things. I just think they're a bit static. What about you, Brian?
Scarlock's Wood Elf Archers.
You want to see them come back out? They would be.
That was such a cool box set.
I'd be all over that.
I love those. Even though I've never painted a Wood Elf, I had 3 boxes of those at one point. I just kept it. The best Wood Elves I've ever made.
For me,
amazing models.
They are the equivalent of the original Harlequin box set for 40k. Which had all of the Harlequins. And when that box came out...
both Jess Goodwin, weren't they?
Yeah.
Both,
that and probably the Beastmasters that were available, the Wood Elf Beastmasters that were available at the same time.
Yeah.
And you the guy with the bear hawk coming off him, a cheetah, a bear.
Yeah, the animal handlers.
Yeah. I mean, brilliant. If you look at them now, they're probably not that great models, but at the time they were just mind-blowing.
The thing you'd notice now is the scale of them, because the old Wood Elf cavalry was, you remember the Mike McVeigh army?
Yeah,
that was brilliant. But if you saw those, because I had a load of those, I had the army, I just never painted any. But the scale of those, if you saw them now, they're quite small.
Yeah, they would be. I mean, a guy who was a regular at our club and local tournaments, he used to quite often use them in his armies, and he had high elves and I think wood elves of that age with the smaller models.
Phil, yeah, he did. Yeah, he's got a lot of the old classic models,
and they look great. But they do look. Some of them look dated, like the bolt throwers, the little round wheels. That
tiny.
Are like,
they look like the Mantic ones.
They would fit on a 2p piece type. You know, they do look a bit small. So no, it's good. What about you, Wayne? What would you like to see?
I would have. Too much to choose from. I would have new plague monks.
Yeah, I could go with that. I think they do a fantastic job on those, and I like the current plague monks. But I think to fit it in with the real dirty, thin-looking rats, they could look some of the best.
Especially
models.
when you think the current models, the bodies are one piece, it's only the arms, and they've done such a good job on the kind of almost single pose models with the clown rats being able to change the arms and stuff. If they could do that with the Plague Monks, I think that could be brilliant.
No, I agree. I think they could. Yeah, I like that one. Okay, to wrap this up then, guys, as we're sort of near the end of the segment. What's on our Christmas list? Wayne, what's on yours? Got anything interesting hobby-wise?
Yeah. I have to get my current Skaven finished, my Lizardmen finished. Once I get both of those done, which, to be fair, isn't going to take long, because the Lizardmen are kind of they're kind of speed painted, but there's kind of key areas which are painted nice, so your kind of eye gets drawn to that. So they shouldn't take that long. At the moment, I'm painting Skaven characters. I want to get those 2 armies, kind of have some closure on those, just get them done, and then maybe go back to the Bretonians, because obviously maybe we'll get a book next year. But I really have been toying around with the idea for a while now. Because I've never used resin bases. And I was talking to Brian about this before we started the show. And I really like the idea of going back to the Lustrian Skaven army, doing a new Skaven army, but doing it as a proper Lustrian, with all like this sort of using the different dinosaurs and that as, for the bell and the furnace. And I'd love to do that. The only thing I wasn't sure about was how the models actually mount, not how they glue, because obviously you just pin and glue them, but how they look once they're on a resin base. Sure. Do they kind of look like they're hovering on plants?
Stuck on,
where there looks like there's no weight to them. And obviously to get all the bases I'd need to do that many models would be about £150, £200. So yeah, it's kind of like, I do like the idea of, I mean, obviously a bit weird, because I'd have to paint all the models separately and then all the bases separately and then glue the two together. So it would be a long process. But if I had 2 of my armies finished to play with, it can take as long as it takes.
Should we just put this out there then? If you're a resin base maker, and you would like a plug on the show for your awesome product, Wayne is very keen to receive some of your product for free or discounted.
Jungle bases, that's what I like. Jungle
bases, there you go. Just put it out there.
Is that your way of putting the jungle drums out there?
Yeah, that's it. Okay, so what about you, Brian? What's on your hobby list?
It's the time to make a display board for the army I'm working on.
Ooh.
I know that was controversial.
If the listeners could see my face,
Well,
he didn't moan when I made him one.
No, he's a legend. But
he didn't moan when you made him one out of something that I gave to you.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
That's why you have friends, isn't it?
The kind of the theme of the elf army I'm working on is kind of a Reaver thing. So I've had kind of, when I started it, the idea that they're raiding.
Are you going to do a boat?
No, not a boat.
Wayne's really keen on
not a boat, but a village. So a village with something defending the village that they're raiding. So
I like it.
Yeah, so it's the time and the dedication to do that and do it well. So
no, I like the idea. To be honest, I've seen a lot of good display boards, and I joke about it, but it's one of those things that if I really had an army and that I was running out of things to do with it, it's obviously another thing to do, isn't it? So I think
really cool if you had the space to transport it would be a Black Ark. If you did a Black Ark, because you could do the levels of the Black Ark, and then that would give you the space, like in the rock faces, to put the units in.
Yeah,
but it would obviously be big because it would be like a large piece of rock that's floating in the water. So
you see, I quite like the idea, because then I can paint half a dozen or so models, maybe a few more of the defenders, and they can be Empire or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's a chance to also just paint some models that I probably otherwise wouldn't paint. And in terms of gaming, the armies uses edgeless movement trays. So when you put them on the table, it's very functional. But then on the display board have them inset.
Yeah.
So they'd actually you don't need edged movement trays. They actually sit within cutouts on the display board.
A clever way of doing that is if you had, like, say you went to a tournament and it was Triumph and Treachery, you could say you had Dark Elves and I don't know, orcs, for example. You could actually have the display board where you have the Dark Elves coming on, like you've said, but then for the display purposes, the allies would actually be the people. So you'd have like an orc village. So they'd be raiding the orc village, and then the orcs that you had for the allies, they would be the defenders. You could set it up like that, so it looked like a big diorama.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think you use the word diorama, sort of going right back to what got me into wargaming. Yeah, so gaming with my stepdad, sort of Second World War gaming, and sort of looking through some of the books that had the rules in then, and some of the dioramas then. I think dioramas well done are always
Yeah,
fantastic,
amazing. We went to Warhammer World last time, didn't we? We looked at all the old Mike McVeigh ones. They're just brilliant.
That again, absolutely legendary pieces of work in my eyes. The best thing that that I've ever seen in terms of modelling, and just the. It's not necessarily the technical ability of them, which is excellent. It's the just the how it captures what it's about.
They tell a story, don't they?
And I love that. And it's one of those things that when I started off in this kind of hobby, I started off with World War II tanks, and that's the kind of stuff I like to do. So for me, it was like a natural sort of progression into it. But I've never made one. I always thought about it, but just never got around to it. And whether I ever do, I don't know. But it's on my hobby bucket list to do a diorama.
Yeah, and I thought, kind of having that as a display board, it kind of ticks a couple of boxes as well. I'm going to design it to fit into my plastic carry tray, so it's just part of you just take it out with your army on it, put it down. So yeah.
Good. I like it. I mean, my Christmas list is pretty sparse on the hobby front. I've actually got part of my sort of New Year's resolution. We won't get onto those yet. That's the next show. But would be to try and get rid of paint through what I've got. Basically, I like you, Wayne. I would like to put closure on this vampire army just so I've got a few more options and I can play it. I know I can just wheel it out for tournaments and play it, and it be. Have the option to play around comps or, be competitive where it needs to be. But and just start painting some stuff. I've got a half-finished Skaven I really want to paint, although I had some ideas about that the other day, about just altering the basing slightly, mixing it up. I've got an Empire army I'd really like to finish. Got some Bretonnians, some Wood Elves, lots of bits and pieces, really. So I've not really put anything on my list at the moment, so it might be a sparse hobby Christmas. What I'd really like is the time to actually do some hobby. That would be number one. So there we go. So hopefully that's given us a little bit of a Christmassy look at our thoughts for the year. I think to finish off, I would just like to ask you this one question: what's been your highlight of the hobby /gaming year, then, Brian?
Highlight of I don't know. That's a hard one.
Yeah, what's been your highlight of the hobby? You got one, Wayne?
Triumph and Treachery by a mile.
Well, we'll talk about this in your story of the week in the next segment. But
Triumph and Treachery is the single best thing that's happened to Warhammer in many, many years, in my opinion.
Yeah. Good. And the £50 price tag's not looking too bad now, no?
Well, I didn't buy it, so
thanks, listeners.
I came over to your house and took your copy.
I think having the break and coming back has been my highlight, and realising that you don't have to come back. You don't have to be on the treadmill. You can come back at your own pace. I think that's...
I'm certainly not on any treadmill.
So, you need to go on one. Me too, but...
Yeah, awesome. Warhammer treadmills. So, yeah, that's good. What about you then, Wayne? Oh, Triumph and Treachery was yours.
What about you, Dan?
Do you know what? My highlight of the year, I think, was just being able to put my own army on the board and play Warhammer. And that sounds like such a small thing, but I haven't physically played with my own army for about the last, 4 years, something like that. Yeah, how many ETCs have I done? Is it 3?
I think it's 3 years.
3 years ETC. I did Empire, Skaven, Lizardmen. Yeah, 4 years. 4 years. Well, I did Bretonnians, didn't I? Is that right? Have I done 4 years of ETC? Lizardmen, Skaven, Bretonnians, and Empire. Yeah. 4 years of ETC. So the Lizardman was the last time I put an army of my own on the board and played it. Yeah. And I think I played it Sheffield earlier this year. I did use my Lizardmen, but they weren't. I used Temple Guard that were base coated, and that was it. It didn't feel the same. The vampires, albeit they're kind of dipped and very quick job, they are finished, as it were. So that was really nice, I think, to be able to do that. So that was really my highlight of the year, and I had a great time at the Cardiff tournament. So it was like a bit of an old school feeling, really. You turn up with an army that you is yours, fresh out. You go drink a lot, have a bit of a laugh, and have a really good time. And I think it was only 5 games as well. It's just really old school. So I'd say that was probably my highlight of the tournament year. And of course, the South Coast GT is always a big highlight of the year for me. Just putting it on, seeing everybody there, having a good time, and doing it. I don't know. There's so many, isn't there? The ETC is another one. I don't know. I could be here all day. So just an all round good year, isn't it? There you go. Wargaming.
Next year is going to be a big one.
It is. Looking forward to next year.
South Coast GT. Adepticon, and then the following weekend, South Coast GT. Yeah. That's going to be mad.
We're hobby hardcore, so I can't wait to meet the American fans out there. It's going to be fantastic, I think. Just the opportunity to take in the gaming culture. Obviously, I've met lots of American guys over at the ETC over the last few years, but obviously you get a wider base of players as well. And I'm really looking forward to seeing other people's armies. We'll probably come back sitting on the plane pumped about what army we're going to do.
I know what's coming. You're going to be blown away by the hobby aspect of it all. I mean, obviously I've never been to Adepticon, but the the Americans are pretty passionate about the hobby side of it, and it will be full on, which is going to be great. I can't wait.
Excellent. Good. Well, I think that probably finishes that segment. So hopefully you've enjoyed that.
Are we sitting comfortably? Then we should begin. The story of the week.
Okay, so story of the week, Wayne. I've been looking forward to this one because we haven't really spoke about it. But so you've been playing some Triumph and Treachery. I've been gutted. I couldn't make it down the club for the last 4 weeks, I think. And you guys, it looked like you've been having a whale of time on the old Triumph and Treachery. So tell us a bit about how that's been going.
Yeah, the first game we had, there was 4 of us, and Simon of Hoeth, who's now Simon of Nagarath, and then gone back to Hoeth.
Mixing up with a bit of Loren in the middle.
He took. We had 1,500 points each, and he took High Elves. James Harding took Warriors of Chaos, and Mike Harding, James's dad, took Ogres. And I turned up with Demons, and I had just a real vanilla kind of no kind of extra tools. It was just basic Demons. Quite, for Demons, it was quite a soft list. So I thought this is just gonna be a bit of fun. We're gonna have, there's gonna be a kind of an objective in the centre of the table, and it's a bit of fun. So Mike turns up with 2 Iron Blasters and 1,500 points.
Good boy.
James turns up with a unit of Skull Crushers, and a big block of Warriors. That was basically his army. So I'm having a go. As we're playing the game, sort of friendly banter. I'm having a go at both of them for bringing filth. And then Simon's just been really, really quiet. And I looked at Simon, so I thought, he looks all right, bit of everything. And he's taken Banner of the World Dragon. So it ended up though, because the way Triumph and Treachery works, you get money. So if you kind of kill a unit that's worth 100 points, for every 100-point increment, you get so many coins. And obviously the person, and then if you get the objective, if there's an objective within the scenario playing, if you get that at the end of the game, you get extra. So whoever's got the most money at the end of the game is the winner. Somehow, with the softest list, I managed to win, right? Nice. But it was kind of like we were just sort of feeling out the rules and getting used to it. And we all really enjoyed it. But the following week, we decided to go with 1,000-point lists and a 200-point mercenary contingent. And obviously, it's quite tricky with 200 points of mercenary because you don't get a lot for your 200 points. So you have to be quite selective in the race that you choose. Well, that's what I found anyway. So I took Skaven, took 1,000 points of Skaven, and I took 200 points of Orcs and Goblins, which was a goblin boss on a giant cave squig with nothing because there was no points to give him anything else. And then I had it was 10 squig hoppers.
Oh yeah, cool.
So it was basically him. So that was just a mercenary unit of squig hoppers, which turned out to be really, really good. Yeah, they got killed eventually, but they were really good. So Simon this time took Tomb Kings, and his mercenary contingent was trying to think what it was now. I'll come back to that in a minute. I can't remember. Mike took Warriors again, James took Warriors. Mike took Ogres. Mike's mercenary contingent was a Empire Cannon with an engineer.
He didn't take the Iron Blasters. He took an Empire Cannon.
Yeah,
instead.
he took an Empire Cannon with an engineer.
He's my hero.
Or was it Hell Blaster? Might have been a Hell Blaster. I can't remember actually. It was one or the other, right? So he took that, and then Simon's contingent was he had Tomb Kings, but then he took VC. So, but his was a Banshee, and then 2 units of dogs.
All right,
yeah. And James's was. Oh, I had to go at him the week before because he took this unit of Blood Crushers and or Skull Crushers, and I said to him, come on, at this level, that's a bit over the top. So he's like, okay, right. He took his slap on the wrist. He comes back the next week. He brings the 3 Skull Crushers and an Exalted Hero on a Jugger in one unit, right? So it's like, what's that all about? Yeah. And obviously, we just left that alone the whole game. That was just marching through that took the objective at the end of the game because no one was going to fight that. It's just ridiculous. I can't remember what he took for his mercenaries. I'm really trying to remember now. I can't remember, but brilliant,
Lizardmen.
Brilliant game. No, it'll come to me in a minute. But the way we'd had to set up for this scenario, me and Mike, his ogres, we were quite close to each other. So we called a truce. We said, look, if we'll call a truce because we're not going to get into the game otherwise. So I I moved up into the towards the centre of the table, but a bit kind of careful because I angled my units just in case Mike changed his mind and tried to sort of because I thought with his ogres, if he charges my army in the flank, that's it. They're all going to go in one turn. So and I moved the squig hoppers along, so they were kind of facing. He didn't really notice because I kind of moved along the line, but they were facing the ogres. So then Mike sort of like, wholeheartedly got into this truce and he marched the ogres down with all their flanks showing. And in Triumph of Treachery, your go is a card. So you've got a symbol for each of you's got a symbol. Like I had an axe, I think Simon had a staff and so forth. So your card gets turned over. If it's your symbol, that's your go. So obviously you could go last in the first turn, and then in the second turn you could go first. Because you shuffle the deck and it gets turned over. So as it worked out, I think I was like second or third in the first turn. Second turn, Mike's moved up. Everyone's kind of shuffled around. Simon and James had called a truce for the same reasons. Their truce ended pretty sharpish, where Simon just decided to throw everything in. Against Warriors, he threw the chariot, everything just because he had. He had chariots, and he had what's the big guy?
The Sphinx.
No, the sort of crocs, the ogre size models.
Necro Knights, you mean?
No,
you mean
Shanty.
Yes,
Shanty.
Yeah. He had a unit of those. He chucked those. Basically everything got thrown, and it was like the big fight. And sort of Mike was laughing at him. And then it was my go, and I just went, "Sorry, Mike," and I just wellied into him. It was brilliant. The squig offers went straight into the flank of his main ogre unit, did a load of damage.
Yeah.
And then it ended up eventually with there was a fire belly that kind of ground them out, and they sort of but there wasn't many of them left. And then I ended up with because I took plague monks, and I had a unit of plague monks that were just about to hit his ogre unit to finish it off in the flank, and then the juggers came steaming forward and hit them in the rear. It was just carnage. It was just fights going off everywhere. Because also in Triumph of Treachery, if your mercenaries, when they're in the game, they're at -1 leadership.
Oh yeah.
So I thought if I take the squig hoppers, they're immune to psychology. So for most of the time they're not taking any. And being goblins, if they have to take a break test, they're gonna go anyway because it's not high leadership anyway, so it's not really going to make much difference. So but it's so much fun. It's so much fun because everybody's your opponent, even when you call a truce. And the cards in the game, you can play the cards. So some cards you can play as a neutral player. So if, for example, my movement phase, I said, right, Dan, you're my opponent in the movement phase. So I can charge you, but I'm not allowed to charge anyone else, right? In the combat phase, I have to pick my opponent. So even if it's a multiple combat, I can only attack you. Yeah. So, and the other units that involved, say like I had another player was in the flank of one of my units, that wouldn't count.
Oh, right, okay.
You just discount that player completely.
Yeah.
It just makes it so good because obviously when you get to the end of the turn when everyone's had their go and then you shuffle the deck, you don't know who's coming out next. So then you can go from a position where you think, I'm sorted, everything's lined up. But because it kind of isn't the normal way of playing the game with who gets their turn in an order, you can't really take into account what's going to happen, which makes it brilliant. As long as you enter it in a real kind of, as long as you get into the game with a real kind of light-hearted approach to it, it's fantastic. It really took me back to when I first started playing as a kid, and it was kind of like it was just about moving models around, rolling dice, and just having fun. And you really didn't care who won or lost. It was just about the event of the game, and it is Triumph and Treachery is an event of the game. Being able to play the cards as, for example, I was saying about the neutral player. If for example I'm in a combat with you, and one of the other players has got a card which says if you're a neutral player, you can play this. So you can actually buff one of the units that are fighting because you might be thinking, hang about, he's going to win that combat, then he's going to turn and he's going to be against me. So I don't want him to lose that. So I'm going to play cards. And so you can play kind of like, and not just one. You could play like you can only ever keep 5 cards in your hand. So when you get new cards, you obviously have to ditch ones. So you have to try and keep the best ones that you can and kind of foresee which that you're going to be able to use these cards. Yeah. So that's tricky as well. The card management is quite tricky. So I in one of the games I had, I thought I'm not going to need that, and I threw it away for a better card. And obviously a different something happens in the game. You think, I could have really done with that card now. And some of them are very subtle. Like it might just be you can add 1 to your combat resolution. But then there might be others where you can play a card, and it's like if you play it against an enemy wizard, any double is a miscast.
Yeah.
So, but you can play like as a neutral player. So you can play cards that aren't going to affect you, but are going to affect both of the other players. As a neutral player. So it's just there's loads of subtlety to it, and stuff that's not so subtle. But it's just brilliant. It's just such a it's proper like right. We're going to have a whole evening, get the lads round, get some pizzas in, and we're just going to play Warhammer. And to be after about 20 minutes of playing, you don't even think about winning.
No,
it's kind of weird. You don't, when you play normal Warhammer, you kind of look at it and you think, well, if I do this, I need to do that. And if you lose a unit, you kind of, oh no, that's blown a hole in my line. I need to do blah blah blah. Triumph of Drexel, you don't think about it because you're just buzzing around between the three players, working out what they're going to do and what you're going to do, and you're trying to keep your eye on the prize of the scenario. But obviously, you're trying to get coins as well, which sounds like you're trying to win, but it's but then you keep an eye on what the other players have got. Yeah. So, for example, at one point Simon he was quite a way ahead. So then we were kind of right, that's it. And we tried to sort of all gang up on him. But the way the models were positioned, it was really hard to get out of what we were doing to get to him. So he was kind of he won it in the end. But if say to anyone out there, I know it's £50 for the Triumph of Treachery in the rule book, there's only about 6 pages of rules. And obviously the cards and the coins and everything like that you need to play it. The rest of the book is scenarios and background stories to go with those scenarios, which is a really good read. I found that really entertaining. I've read the whole book. I thought it was really, really good. I don't know if it's worth £50. Well, saying that, as an item viewing it on its own, I think, is it worth £50? After playing it twice, it's worth every penny because the enjoyment out of them 2 games, I would be quite happy if the rest of my games that I played in my now to my grave were Triumph and Treachery. They're that enjoyable that I think going back to normal Warhammer is going to be a bit dull.
Yeah, I can see that though, because even I know at the club where we've got a lot of banter, and I suppose it's like everything, it depends on who you're playing with. But I find Warhammer quite a spectator sport, so I quite like if I finish my game quickly down the club. I actually quite like sitting around seeing what other people's games are doing. But this is like that, and you're part of it, aren't you? You're sitting there watching other people taking their turns, basically, but you're part of it as well.
Yeah, so you are. Yeah, exactly. You hit the nail on the head because you do, because you kind of, and you have to pay attention to what's going on. Because even though it's not your turn, what they're doing does will affect you. And if you take your eye off the ball, people will turn on you so quickly. Yeah. So it's great, really, really good. And then for other people that aren't actually playing, watching, it's just buzzing. Because obviously, if they're watching, they can talk to the players who aren't sort of active in those turns.
Yeah.
So you can kind of chat to other people while you're playing. It's just brilliant. It's such a good game.
You're going to love it, mate. Yeah.
You're going to love it. It's so cool. I mean, I've got that the battle board, and I'm working on.
You got Realm of Battle, haven't you?
Yeah, Realm Battle board. I'm doing that. I'm probably going to start that Tuesday now because the weather hasn't been. The days that I was going to do it, the weather hasn't, because I need to get outside and spray it and stuff. Yeah. But I'm going to paint it in a kind of like a sort of brown board. But I'm working on scenery at the moment, so we can do like a jungle jungle table for your lizard men. Yeah. And then we could do like a ruined table, and then kind of like a village table, so we can actually have some scenarios and maybe do like so we could do a series of games and like a campaign, because the beauty of this thing as well, everyone that's played it wants more. They want to play more of it. So I mean, I was supposed to be having another game tonight, but obviously this was the only night we could do the show. Sure. So I'm doing the show instead. But it's great. It's really good. And I found a really positive thing about it over the last few weeks is because we're playing 1,000 points and then 200 points of mercenaries. It suddenly makes you think, do you know what, that army that kind of like taken on like 2,400 points, like the Bretonians. Yeah. Now I'm looking at thinking, if I can paint 1,000 points, and then like with the Orcs and Goblins I want to do, if I can just paint that Squig Hopper unit, that's my Triumph and Treachery army.
To be honest, that's what appeals to me when you've been talking. I was thinking, actually, my 500 points of Skaven doesn't take a lot to paint 500 more and use them, and then I can use VC for the 200 points, or there's all the other way around. You can use bits and bobs. I like the idea of how it works.
Yeah, if you're like like me, where you've got a lot, collected a lot of stuff of a lot of different armies. Suddenly you're looking and think, this is brilliant. Well, with the lizards, because that's what I do. I do the 1,000 points, make sure I'll get 1,000 points painted, and then I might do, I don't know, whatever comes to mind. Maybe put the Tomb Kings with it or something like that. I don't know, but yeah, you can just have small collections, and obviously if you really like playing with that army after 1,000 points, then suddenly you want to paint. You want to do the extra unit, and then you do one more unit, or you'll do a variation of the 1,000 point, because you'll have something else that goes in. And it's brilliant. It just makes you you don't look at like sometimes it's easy. Like people say, want to paint a Skaven army, and they look at it and they want a competitive, and they say, well, I'm going to need like 2-3 blocks of 40 slaves, and that's enough to put anyone off painting. Before you've looked at the rest of it. Whereas with this, 1,000 points, you can still get a fair number of Skaven in there, but it's different. Like with my list, I had 20 Plague Monks with full command. I had a sort of 25 Giant Rats, and I had a unit of Clan Rats with a weapons team. And then I had 3 Rat Ogres. Yeah. So even though it's still a fair amount of models, you're looking at it in small chunks. If something's what my project today is going to paint, or start, is to paint 20 Plague Monks, that's quite an enjoyable thing to do. But if you were kind of go, right, I'm going to do 50 Plague Monks, then that's... that's a completely different mindset, because you're grinding through it. So it's not only fantastic to play, but it's a really good starting block for starting new armies. Or it's a great way of getting new players into it. Yeah, because basically you're giving them a really good experience right from the off, and also they can sort of, it's manageable armies. Yeah. Cost and time-wise, painting, Suddenly, if you said to someone, right, you're going to do warriors, to start off with, you just need to collect 1,000 points of warriors. And then your 200 points is going to be orcs and goblins. So maybe you could do 3 chariots or 10 squig hoppers, or you could do a unit of night goblins with some netters and stuff like that. It's like a couple of boxes of models. Yeah. It's great.
I imagine you've also got the chance to do some really good sort of theme things. So you can do like a cult of Slaanesh. So you can have a Slaanesh. So you could have a Dark Elf army with Chaos Warriors. Allied in.
Yeah.
Or
you could do the Hellstriders, couldn't you? You could have like the Hellstriders.
Or the old Beasts and Demons from the old Hordes of Chaos book, or Bretts and Wood Elves.
Well, it gives you a reason if you like Wood Elves, you fancy painting a unit, but you don't want an army because you can't be bothered with them. You can just add a couple of it. I'll play with that 200 points this week. Next week you might want to, you've added 5 War Dancers or something crazy you wouldn't do, but you just want to paint it. At least you can use them in a game. It doesn't really matter, does it? So, 200 points of anything isn't going to matter massively, but it's quite nice to do.
The only thing I would probably change is, say, look, if you got 1,000 points, you can take 200 points of mercenaries. I would think it would actually work a bit better if it was a quarter. So if you could take 250 points of mercenaries to the 1,000 points, because like with orcs and goblins it's really easy, with Skaven it's really easy, and a few other armies. But if you took Chaos Warrior mercenaries, 250 points, because you have to have a mercenary captain, you have to take a character, right? And obviously he's the guy your army did the deal with. That makes sense. You have to have that. But if with some of the armies, even to have a cheap character takes up a massive chunk of them points. Yeah, well, exactly.
Yeah, but given kind of the random, for want of a better word, but non-standard way of playing it, you could just as a group say, well, you've got to have at least a champion, and the champion can be the captain of the mercenaries.
Yeah, that's true.
Just put like a house rule in, so you could have. It's my Chaos Knights would be a good example. I don't know what a Chaos Knight champion is. They used to be about 50 points in total, but you could have 4 Chaos Knights, one of which was a champion. That's your mercenary band, and that'd be quite a good mercenary band. They're all
and a 50-point Chaos Warrior champion is the same points as a Skaven chieftain with halberd. It's like he's 47 points. So you could do that, or like I said, you could just up the points. You could say the mercs can have an extra 50 points, and then it allows you to maybe.
Like say, ogres would be a problem because they'd be the perfect mercs, but actually, if you've got to take a 100-point Firebelly or whatever, the cheapest character you can fit in it is.
But then, if you said if it's a champion.
The
champion in a unit. So if you want to take it, man-eaters being the ultimate mercenaries, you take 3 man-eaters and a man-eater champion. Yeah.
You just maybe say that the champion has to be like part of an elite. So you couldn't have like a clan rat champion.
Yeah. No.
It had to be like, if it was a champion, it had to be like a storm vermin champion, or it had to be like a master molder because he's more expensive. I don't know, you'd work that in, like, obviously you just have house rules, but it's I can't recommend it enough.
Tell you what I'd like to do as well is the 4 of you turn up with mercenaries, and then you roll to see who uses which one.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Yeah, well, yeah, because
like keys in a bowl.
Yeah,
because it wouldn't matter, because I mean there are opportunities to buy mercenaries off during the game. To stop them, to stop them doing stuff, which is great. But I mean, the Golfags mercenaries, they feature quite heavily in the scenarios in the book.
Oh yeah,
but the armies they're using are big. I mean. Like one of the Skaven armies is a seer on a bell, and then there's Queek in it, and he's got his personal bodyguard with the kind of 11-point storm vermin. So there's a kind of quirky army. They've got dark elf allies.
Oh yeah,
and then you've got a big dwarven army in it with Empire allies, and then you've got a night goblin army in there with. I'm not sure what the allies for that, but it's basically Skarsnik.
Oh yeah,
you've got Skarsnik's army, so there's a big battle with those, and then there's another battle where you've got the dwarves and the Empire. Yeah, they're in that one I just said. But then you've got other ones. We've got lizard men and so forth. This is why I want to do the tables. So we can have like a jungle table. We can have a ruin table. We can have a village table. But a village table, because I've got I've got a disc with I need to print them out of card buildings, but all to scale, kind of like a little, like the old style cardboard buildings you used to get at a workshop used to make. They're all that scale and look like that. So I need to make a load of those up, and then we could have like a village.
That'd be cool.
It'd be great for like for the website, because we could photo all that in depth.
Yeah.
And it looked fantastic.
The other thing, it sounds, a favourite of ours, or certainly you and I, Dan, have played a lot of it, is Chaos in the Old World.
Yeah.
It sounds a bit like Chaos in the Old World, but instead of having
with Warhammer,
with Warhammer,
you're all trying to do each other in. Basically,
and the whole somebody gets ahead, you pick on them, or we're going to make an allegiance. No, we're not really.
No, it does sound ace. I'm looking forward to playing that. It'll have to be in the new year, I suppose, unless we get a game in over Christmas. But
the only thing I would say, which is going to sound really, really obvious, is because we made sure we did this. If you're playing the same 4 players over a period of so many weeks of playing, make sure that every time you play, you're in a different position on the table.
Oh yeah, that makes
sense.
So
you're always standing. So you rotate. So you're always standing next to one of the other players.
Yeah.
So that basically, because I know it sounds obvious, but if you're kind of, if you all stay in your same positions all the time and you're always standing next to the same people, very quickly you're going to know what they're going to do. I mean, you will after a time anyway, but psychologically, if you're always playing a different part of the table with different people,
well, it's no different to playing cards or something like that. You get if someone's always they're playing to you, they're dropping their cards out to you. You get an idea of what they're going to drop and all that kind of stuff, and it's the same thing. You want to shuffle around, so shuffle around, get it? So no, it does sound excellent, mate. I'm looking forward to playing that. I'm well gelled. I haven't been able to get down there yet, so that does sound fun. So there you go. I don't think you can get a better review of Triumph and Treachery for that. That was pretty positive from your perspective. So
I love it. I love it. It's fantastic.
I'll have to pry the book back out of your hands to read it. So, excellent. Good stuff. Okay, so we're joined by a special guest on this particular segment. I think he'd been on the show many moons ago, but before he was an international superstar. The man from the Black Sun podcast, Chris Tomlin. Hello, mate.
Hello, how's it going?
Yeah, all right. Welcome to the show. And I've also you would have heard him already on the show, but he's still here. It's Brian, what do we call you these days? The Hobby Killer?
Something like that. Yeah. Just can't get rid of me.
No, he's still
like syphilis.
Around. Yeah, so Wayne's just popped out very briefly, so he'll be back in, I'm sure. So, Chris, the reason I wanted you on, Merry Christmas, first off.
I think you're the first person that said that to me this year.
Yeah, well, we don't want to give away any trade secrets, but obviously we're recording a little bit in advance, so it's probably it's probably why. So yeah, Merry Christmas, mate, and I'm gonna Merry Christmas. I started doing that impression today, and I don't know if some of the listeners would have played it, but did you ever play a game called Diablo?
Yeah.
That Deck Arcane guy, I ended up sounding a lot like him. Stay a while and listen. But there you go. So Christmas. Right. So I'm going to extend the same questions I put to the guys to you, mate. So let's talk first. Have you been naughty or nice this year, first off? What do you think?
In Warhammer or in general?
Well, either.
Well, maybe a bit of both. I like to mix it up,
Yeah, you like to keep it real. Good.
That's it.
So let's talk about Warhammer then. So let's have 3 things that you think that would put you on the nice list that you've done in the hobby this year.
Okay, so I think one thing that I did was quite nice, which is something I certainly always talk about, and I know other people do, is when you paint an army up to a basic standard and just basically to get it out 3 colour minimum and a wash for a tournament. And what I've done this year is I've gone back to one of my armies, my high elves that I've done that to, and upscaled all the painting on it, which is a nice thing to do, I think, within the hobby. It's something I always said I'd do, so I gave them a bit more love. And now they look still rubbish according to most people because it's the Mantic models. But they're not one of your sponsors, are they?
No, you're good.
I can say that. So give a bit more love to something that was originally just sort of rushed out for tournaments. So I think that was quite a nice thing to do.
Yeah, I like that one. I definitely think you'd be on the nice list. Go for it then. What else you got?
Okay, well, I think I've sort of had a general change in attitude towards gaming, sort of, especially throughout the latter part of this year. In that, I'm not saying I was ever super competitive at tournaments or trying to be up there and win it, because I never really was. But I sort of had a bit of an epiphany earlier on in the year and sort of thought, well, I want to just take my gaming a little less seriously. I'm not saying that the competitive types doing that are in the wrong or whatever. That's one of the many things that's so great about a hobby, the fact you can take whatever you want out of it. And for me, I've just had a real shift in focus for my hobby, and that's just resulted in me getting so much more out of it. So that's more nice to me and my hobby. But yeah, it's really sort of driven me to be super into it at the moment.
Yeah, I like that one. So would you think you've been more driven as a result in the hobby?
Yeah, definitely. I'm sort of doing some sort of hobby every day, be it assembling, which I'm even getting a bit of enjoyment out of now, which has always just been an absolute nuisance to me. Painting every day or gaming a lot more. I've finally got a full-size table set up at home, so a lot more gaming at home, getting Scott and the other lads around and just playing more for fun. And like I say, there's nothing wrong if you want to be practicing for tournaments all the time. That's cool, and that's what I got a big kick out of for a number of years. But just a bit of a shift. But yeah, it's really sort of boosted it for me, I would say.
Brilliant. And I'm gonna diverge slightly on topic here, which is kind of a thing. But I saw you in the week tweeting some pictures of a great Triumph and Treachery game, and we've talked about Wayne's experiences just earlier in the show. So tell me a bit about that. Was that good? Good fun?
That was amazing. That was so good. I was horrendously hungover, and the thought of doing that initially was just, I didn't want to be there. But once it got going, I'd Ben Diesel sat beside me, so I had my high elves with my Star Dragon and my Frost Phoenixes, and he's there with his 2 Iron Blasters. But I managed to coerce him into being on my side, so I got him to take everyone else out. We had a couple of Dark Elf armies and a Demon army in there as well. 2,500 points aside, five of us on a 6x4 table. So it got pretty messy pretty early on, but it's just a lot of fun. Again, one of those things you can't go into it taking it overly serious. I don't think we're all pretty much using, I think, what we'd consider our current tournament list. So it's not like we toned it down, but just the attitude straight away just changes, because if you've played it, obviously the cards you're getting dealt out and using, you can't be building up some big battle plan and then have someone smack down something and your main unit isn't steadfast or something like that. But it's just hilarious. It's such good fun. You get every other turn you get someone with a bit of a sulk on, getting pounded by like 2 or 3 people. But it's great. The only downside I thought was in the very first turn I was the first person to go, and in the second turn I was the last person. So there's a long space of time where I wasn't really doing anything, but that's the only slight negative. But yeah, awesome. Can't wait to play that again.
How long did it take you to play that whole game then?
About 5 hours, I reckon.
Yeah, that's not too bad then, considering the skies.
I was happy. I think that was a solid investment of a hobby afternoon, and I think next time we probably would scale it back. I reckon it'd be nice to try maybe 1,500 points with 300 of mercenaries, something like that.
I reckon if I was going to play Triumph and Treachery, I'd want to play it with the Black Sun Boys. I reckon that.
It's got to be on the list, hasn't it?
I think we'll have a bucket list.
For that sort of messed with your neighbour type game. I can't imagine a better group to play with than you boys. Yeah,
I had to try and keep Diesel on side there as long as I could before finally turning on him. And obviously that didn't work. He took me off as well. So
did he win in the end?
He did win, yeah, quite convincingly. I think he almost single-handedly took out about 3 of the armies as well.
Was he using his Netless Warriors?
No, back on the Ogres. So it's good to see him back with them. With a silly little grin on his face as he pushes his Mornfang forward and fires his Iron Blasters off.
Quality. Oh, that's awesome stories. So no, I could ask you a ton more about that, but I'm conscious of time, so I'm not going to. But that did look excellent, and it looked like you guys were playing on a really nice table and just looked the part as well. You all painted armies and the rest of it looked good.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, we were around our friend Aaron's house, and he's got a really, really good setup. You can have sort of 2 full-size tables back to back, loads of painted terrain, all that. So yeah, it was really, really good. Like you say, that makes it as well, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, undoubtedly. I'm still. I've been so busy at work, I haven't managed to get to the club. They've been playing it like for the last 3 weeks straight, I think. They're really hooked on it. So, but I haven't had a chance to get there yet. But it does look great fun.
So that big 50 quid price tag's maybe not seeming quite so bad with the enjoyment people are getting out of it.
Well, that's it. I think, and maybe it is. Maybe it was marketing genius, maybe it was just pure fluke, but I think coming up to the lead up to Christmas, I mean, for us tournament gamers, it works out quite well as well because you're just off the back of the tournament season. So
that's it, yeah.
You know, it's time, and a lot of people at that point get sick of playing Tournament Warhammer and want to, you know, reinvent themselves as hobby gamers until next February. Yeah. So there you go. Anyway, so third one, mate. What was third on your nice list?
Well, I'd actually say it's some of the painting I do. I know I discussed painting on the first one, but I've actually been doing some proper painting and pushing myself to do as well as I can, which is something I haven't done for a long time. I've done sort of basic standards. I can't say what I normally call it on this family-friendly show. Yeah. But I painted some new bits of my Dark Elf army, and I've started a second Lizardman army, and I've really sort of pushed myself to paint probably my best ever work. So that's been really good, and I'm pretty proud of some of the stuff that I've done there. And it's nice not working to a deadline for tournaments because I've got so much stuff I can just use for tournaments. It's nice to just paint what I want as and when I want to paint it. So
no, I think that's a massive key thing. I know Wayne and I have talked about that a lot recently. The difference between having just a tournament army, you know, is pretty solid. Yeah, you might not be happy with it for whatever reason. You've either fed up of playing with it or it's not as competitive. But at least from a painting hobby perspective, you know, you don't have to worry about it. You just turn up and you know it's there.
Definitely, yeah,
makes it big different. And I think that's why we've been big advocates for the last few years of. Although it's nice to have a decent army, it's also really nice just to bash stuff out at a quick, like you say. I could almost use the term you use then, but it's family friendly. But yeah, getting stuff out very quickly.
Let's go with that.
It is good. So no, I think that Santa would be, or Father Christmas, depending on what part of the world you come from, would be very happy with your niceties there. So what did you have on the naughty side? On the flip side.
Okay, well, I've just thought of a different thing to replace my number 3 here. And I think I'll go with Tribute. Mm-hmm. Now, this is a tournament that you yourself went to, Dan. And it's a tournament that I went to. Well, I say went to. I went to the venue on the Friday. And unfortunately, your Gentleman Gamer episode hadn't come out then. It came out afterwards. So, unfortunately, without that knowledge I now bear... I got far too drunk on the Friday whilst already nursing a terrible ankle injury and ended up having to drop out the tournament. So I was a bit naughty then. Yeah. I think I might have interrupted your game on 1 or 2 occasions.
It made a good story, though. It made a good story.
So I think that's definitely on the naughty list.
Okay, yeah, I can see how that one would make it. I mean, how do you top that? What else you got on there?
Yeah, that maybe should be the other way around, eh? Okay, well, I think another one, gaming-wise as well, is my failing to win Best Lizardman General at either Midlands or Clash of Swords. Now, this is at a time when Midlands was the last run out of the old Lizardman book, and I felt there were none of the big contenders there, up there with the Lizardmen, you know, your Jack Armstrongs up there. So I thought this is a really good chance for me to take it out, and just... had a horrendous time, some bad luck, some bad play, and it was just a frustrating time. And then likewise, Clash of Swords was a couple of weeks after and was the first time out with the new book. And again, not quite so strong a field for the Lizardman player. So, right, got a real chance. Get in there, first 2-day tournament, be the first best general from the new Lizardman book. And it was going great. I was flying high on the Saturday, 3 big wins, and then come up against a Frog Chaos Troll army and Ben Diesel on the Sunday and came nowhere and got pipped to the post by John Warmington with a Monster Mash army. So it was pretty much those two that made me think, at the moment, I'm probably not cut out for trying to play at a higher level. I don't know, but yeah, that was just bad. It's just a bad time.
So what was it? Was it your expectation of doing better, or was it? What was it that was most disappointing about it?
Yeah, I think that's probably it. I mean, I maybe that didn't occur to me, but I think it's one of the few times where I've actually put an expectation on myself in terms of a gaming point of view, and I don't really often do that, especially not nowadays. So yeah, it was a little frustrating, and I don't find myself really getting frustrated too much by gaming. But yeah, that was just bad play, bad luck, naughty all round.
Yeah, no, I can see that. And what's your final one?
Well, it's a bit of a toss up here. So, I mean, on all of these lists, you can normally put to a close runner. So, I would say a quick shout out to buying and painting Warriors of Chaos Netlist Fill for the South Coast.
Yeah.
But that's not the top one. The top one, which no one's really had a chance to see too much yet, thanks to me dropping out a tribute, but is my Frostheart Phoenixes.
I saw these on Twitter the other day, and I was like, Christopher, you're
right, now, Mr. Heelan,
yeah,
you can show it there. I've seen your bar golf, all right.
Have you seen my Felbats?
yeah, they could be in a club with my Frostheart Phoenixes.
Yeah,
so.
It could be. So go on. You tell the listeners what that's about before I.
Okay, so. Yeah, so my High Elf Semantic army, so everything's really small in it. My dragon's really small as well. So I thought, if I get the Frostheart Phoenixes, the GW ones, they're just going to look ridiculous. They're going to be far too big. And I had 4 of the old 5th edition Wood Elf Warhawks, you know, the ones that used to have the little men on. They're really small, sort of much smaller than Eagle models. I had 4 of them knocking about, which I was using as Eagles in the last High Elf book. But I thought, well, you obviously can't even field 4 Eagles now unless you want to have them in units of 2. And I thought, well, I don't even really want to field Eagles. So I could just paint these blue and use them as Frosthearts. And it started off as a bit of a joke. And then I did it, and now I quite like them. I'm not even really that apologetic about it anymore. I quite like them. If people have a problem with it in game terms, I say they're infinitely high, so you can always target them and that. But yeah, I think they're definitely a bit naughty.
I'll definitely put those on the seriously borderline list. I saw him on Twitter the other day, and I was like, "This is a man that's won multiple Best Army awards, and he's down to."
They got to have the biggest model to base ratio ever, haven't they?
They look like the Demigryph equivalent, aren't they?
They are
the Phoenix equivalent of a Demigryph. It's all base.
I got a great photo of, because Scott's got an actual Phoenix model, and I've got a great photo of them side by side, and it is ridiculous. But
the funny thing is, with the scale of the army, though, I don't actually think it looks out of place. When I saw it all laid out, I was like, actually, it's not that bad. It's just in comparison to the actual model, I think, in the base.
It does look fine, and I'm not doing it to gain an advantage in game, and I'm really not. People, like I say, people want to shoot it or target Magic. I'm not first. They can crack on, but so this will be this weekend coming up, or just gone, depending on when you're listening, was Downfall, and this will be the first time they've actually seen tournament play. So it's going to be interesting to get the reaction.
I want to see Twitter updates, mate. Little pictures of them getting in the action.
It's when they go in like thunder stomping Chaos Warrior models and stuff. That's when it feels a bit wrong, but yeah,
that's going to be brilliant.
Definitely naughty.
Awesome stuff, mate. That sounds like a good balance of stuff this year. I'm not sure if the naughty outweighs the nice or the other way around, but it's all good. So what did you have on your top 5 Christmas wish list for the next edition then?
Okay, so I mean, these probably aren't as exciting as some of you will get more in depth into the rules, I'm sure. But the first one I had on here, which I don't know if it's going to be popular or not, is no allies. Or if they do allies, that they do it well, because I'm a little concerned about them just shoehorning allies in the same way they've done with 40k and seeing Teto Echo in everyone's army just so they can vanguard their juggernauts forward, or etc. etc.
Also, how does that work in 40k? I've seen a lot of talk about this week, but where I've been busy, I haven't really looked into it. Is it just anybody anything then?
Yeah, you can pretty much put anything with anything. I think you have to have like essentially a hero and core choices or whatever it's called in 40k. But yeah, I think you could pretty much have what you want. I'm not totally clued up on it, but I'm just a little concerned about how that will work, and especially how it will work within tournaments as well. Because, I mean, if that's allowed, I mean, it's giving you a lot more to think about as well, isn't it? The number of extra combinations that brings up. So, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people would see it as a good thing, but I don't know. It needs to be done right, I think, to work well.
In previous editions, actually, that was an option anyway, but nobody ever used it in tournaments.
Nobody ever used it.
Yeah, so hopefully I think it'd be similar. I don't think it'd be a massive impact unless they really it's so obvious. Yeah,
that's the way it is with 40k. Though I think it is sort of it's seen as official rules, and they do go on with that at tournaments. But yeah.
Well, I like that one. Yeah, I'd go along with that one.
My next one is, I'm sure it's going to be on everyone's list. It's what everyone says, and that's cannons. Everyone hates cannons. If you ask me what I'd do to change them, I'm not sure I'd have a sensible answer for you. One of those things everyone wants to have a whinge about, but doesn't really know what you could do. I don't know if you want to do D3 wounds on them, or I don't know, but something. No one likes playing against them, do they?
No.
Even just the cannon sniping, it's just silly, isn't it?
That's always my pet hate, the sniping itself. The lookouts are rubbish, but yeah, I don't know either. It's one of those tough ones, isn't it? You almost, if you start tailing the rules back, it doesn't look like a cannon. So I don't know.
That's it. I mean, if it's firing into monsters and taking lumps out of them, that's not. I haven't got too much of a problem. The whole take it off in one, not a fan of that. Mostly because I don't use cannons myself. But yeah, the taking characters out thing, it's never a good feeling when it's done. I remember I did it to Al Thompson once at a tournament, just shot his Vampire Lord off turn one because I didn't have anything else to do, didn't really know what to do, so just went for it and it come off, and you're like, oh, I don't actually feel very good about
that. Awesome.
I think they kill kind of the high fantasy bit of the game a bit, don't they?
Definitely, yeah.
You don't see monsters and dragons because it's just not worth it in a competitive environment with cannons around.
No, definitely. And that would sort of be my next one, really. I'm a big fan of monsters. They're sort of the first thing I sort of deviate to in a new army book. Like with the Warriors, it was the Chimeras, the High Elves, it's the Phoenixes. I've got myself a new Charybdis and that for the Dark Elves. So I really like the monsters. So I'd like to see some way of making them better. I don't really know how that would happen. Also, grouped within that third one, I would probably say it'd be nice to see if they could sort of bring the scrolls of binding in a bit more. What I've like in the Storm of Magic. Have them. Yeah. Remember, like back in 5th edition, where you could just take unridden monsters in every army.
Yeah, I mean, I've got some photos of a tournament that Wayne and I spoke about in the last show, and I used to take photos of my opponent's armies just for like inspiration and stuff. And this guy had like 100 goblins, and then just had like 2 griffins unmounted and and a giant and some other bits, and that was the army.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. I used to love that when I was a kid with 5th edition. So I'd really like to see that brought in. And if you're just playing at home, there's no reason you can't do that. We're starting up a campaign, and we're just sort of setting that standard. Yeah, just take your scrolls of binding out of your rare if you want to do it. So I'm not sure if that would ever be sort of shoehorned into the main rules, but it'd be cool to see.
Yeah, I really like that. One of the main things I've been saying to Wayne about the Storm of Magic is I feel like we've massively underused it. Wayne's never played a game yet.
No, me neither.
And it's actually quite good fun. It is totally different, but I like the options in the book. When you flick through it, you think that'd be really cool just to do like a one-off model and say, I'm going to make this Fimir, or I'm going to make, the Cockatrice model is, a particularly great effort from Trish Morrison, and it's one of the, the best monster models out there, I think.
You can say that while Wayne's out, I suppose, can't you?
Yeah, he'd even admit to that one, the Cockatrice, as we call it. It's really, really good. So nice. I agree with that one. What's next?
Okay, this one is sort of inspired from something we've seen from tournaments, really, and that's more scenarios involving fortitude. Now, I think some of the scenarios they put in the current book were pretty interesting. A lot of them don't really see tournament play, but we have seen at tournaments using scenarios involving the fortitude mechanic more, because it's odd they brought it into the game and then only used it once. So I know that Blood and Glory over here and Adepticon in the US have used quite a lot of things, getting your fortitude to here and there to claim objectives and stuff like that. And that would seem like a cool mechanism to maybe become as part of the game.
Yeah, I like that.
I'd have to agree with that. I mean, one of my favourite games was against you, Chris.
Yes.
It was Blood and Glory game, but it was entirely silly, but loads of fun at the same time.
You killed my entire army, and I just put everything into killing your keeper secrets to get that. I had no army, but poked that last wound off.
Yeah, I think you made a parry to stop me breaking your fortitude.
Yeah,
and then your one spearman jabbed the keeper in the eye, and you got mine. Yeah,
awesome. So I was putting extra attacks on the spearman with a cauldron rather than the 5 at war, just to give me a better chance of poking that last wound off him.
Yeah,
ridiculous, but it's a good time.
I like it. What was next?
Well, that's 4. So the last one is one for you, Dan, and that's to get rid of the 1-up armor save, cap it at 2+, or maybe one for Wayne actually, rather than you.
He told me the other day, this is the God's honest truth. No, I'm going to edit that. I don't like saying God. This was the honest truth. We were talking about the pack for the South Coast Grand Tournament, the tournament we run, and he said, if it was up to me, that would be a house rule. And I just looked at him and said, go and stand in the corner. It's never happening. Never happening. Ever. Anyway, carry on.
Yeah, so I mean, just capping it at 1-ups is obviously an improvement in this edition. I mean, I remember negative save Cold One characters and stuff like that in previous editions.
That was my point to him. It's been around for ages.
It's been around, but they're gradually chipping away at it. So I don't know. It can just be frustrating. A lot of the if I'm playing with Lizardmen and I've got a load of skinks, it doesn't do anything, does it? And I mean, even with the Dark Elves, all my Dark Elf shooting armor piercing, great. Nah, not doing anything. So I guess that's one's purely selfish. I don't use anything with 1-up save really. So
I think the problem is in tournament gaming, we get a lot of it, don't we? Where there's because of the fact that warriors are so popular, and you've got lizard men running around and all these 1-up saves in the Empire army. It does seem like there's a lot of them, doesn't there? That are quite frustrating.
Yeah,
so
certainly does, and they can be tough. I mean, every army book has tools to deal with them. There's no doubts about that. So if you're whinging about it, you probably just need to adapt or play better. But I'm not going to do either of those things. I'm just going to whinge and say take it out.
Do you know what? I do like 1-up saves. That's because a lot of the armies I use or have used have got them. But I wouldn't bat an eyelid if they disappeared. I think it's fine. It does make strength 4 suddenly becomes a lot better.
A lot better.
Yeah.
It just, I don't know. There's just something about it that doesn't sit right to me. That I don't know. 1+. It just, I don't know. There's not. Can you hit on a 1+ ever? I don't know.
You used to be able to.
You used to be able to, and then they FAQ'd it back.
Yeah. Let's not go into FAQs or lack of them. Yeah.
Yeah, that probably should have made the wish list, shouldn't it? That's not me not giving it enough thought.
No, I think it was the typical wargaming community that was. They got updated loads and loads and loads. We got what we wished for. Nobody wanted it. Everyone moaned, and now we haven't got it. Everyone wants it back.
Yeah.
But yeah, Games Workshop. Hope you're listening on that one. So that was good. So some good ones there, mate. I like that. So what is on your Christmas list? Your hobby Christmas list this year?
Well, thanks to Black Friday and Brian, I've already treated myself to most of it, which is a new battle foam case to take my army out to America for Wildpacker in January. And I bought a nice Forge World Basilisk as well to use as a Charybdis for my Dark Elves. So for Christmas, that's left me. It's not directly hobby, but it's an iPad.
Excellent.
And I would put that on a hobby because I'm not really going to use it for anything other than Warhammer tournaments, downloading expensive army books onto. Writing army lists on, and I think more and more it's becoming a crucial sort of bit of kit in especially a tournament gamer's bag, isn't it?
Oh, I mean, I'm sitting here with a mini, which I had a normal iPad and I downgraded to the mini because I use it basically 24/7 at work as an organizer and a task management thing. But the only other thing I use it for is wargaming. It's got everything, FAQs, books. You think of the space it saves you in a bag. It's and everything's at a touch of a button. Your army list. It's just fantastic. And
definitely,
it's almost become an essential piece of kit, hasn't it? I mean, Brian's a massive technical person as well.
Yeah, you need to talk to me because I might have one going. So,
all right, okay.
It'll sort you out.
Hook me up. But I think it is. And more, the more digital content GW is releasing, love it or hate it, the more and more that comes out, the more and more people are gonna end up with iPads. I don't think it's a bad thing.
No, I mean, you're talking to the two Apple fanboys, number 1 and 2 here, so we're not going to tell you.
That's it.
We're not going to tell you any different.
I remember going into Brian's house and I'm having the TV linked up to my phone and stuff. It's absolutely crazy. Loved it.
Yeah.
Times.
It is.
Yeah. So that's it really. I don't normally I don't really normally ask for toys too much because I normally just buy them myself if I want them. But yeah, I've got plenty to be getting on with. No. So I would say that's it really.
I like it. Yeah, I think that's a great one, mate. I like that. I think that might be the best one there. So no, that's great, and I appreciate you spending the time to come on, mate. Some food for thought there. If Games Workshop do listen to us, then hopefully some of those.
I'm sure they've got some little ears.
Yeah,
listening.
Indeed. So no, thanks for joining us, mate, and I'm sure we'll have you on again. Actually, it's always good to talk to you.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Thanks for coming on.
No worries. Cheers, guys. See you later.
Cheers.
This is the War Room.
Okay, so the War Room then. Well, while we got Brian on, I thought it would be interesting because you've been playing the new Dark Elves. I haven't had a chance to play against them much other than playing you. Actually, I've played them twice now. But how have you found them? How have they been going?
Yeah, I think they're interesting. They're I think they're different to how they used to be. I think they're more reliable. I think the fact that Corsairs as a unit, which I think are a really good unit in the new book. You're just re-rolling everything with them,
Yeah.
With ASF, you're re-rolling to hit most things. Because they're only strength 3. You re-roll, you roll with a lot of attacks. You're re-rolling to wound all those ones. It just feels like they're very consistent.
They're elite.
Yeah, they're elite.
Some would say bent.
Yeah.
But then I think there's toughness 3. Generally, they haven't got great armor saves across the book. They haven't got cannons. That's when you play an army with cannons, without cannons, you know how quick your bolt throwers die to cannons, for example. So kind of the lists I've been running with have had Corsairs and Spearmen and Dark Riders in core, block of Executioners, 4 bolt throwers, a battle standard bearer, a couple of mages, and a guy on a dragon. So kind of a bit of a everything type list. Quite a lot of fun to play with. Enjoying them. They feel more interesting than the High Elves. The High Elves, there's some good builds in there, but they're just certainly from an infantry point of view, I don't think they're as interesting as the Dark Elves.
Do you mean in competitive variety terms?
Yeah, I think just to play with. I think
you feel like you can do more with the Dark Elves.
Well, they're more aggressive. I think you can build some quite good defensive lists with High Elves, and obviously their magic. There's potential to get good ward saves and things. I think the High Elves are kind of all about generally doing damage before damage is done to you. So I think that's where you have to be careful with them. You get them into a bad situation.
The Dark Elves, you mean?
The Dark Elves, yeah. You get the Dark Elves in a bad situation, and you'll kill a bunch, but you'll get ground down really quickly. They're expensive, they're fragile, they've got all the problems that elves have always had. I think Witch Elves might be a fad. I mean, I've sold 90 Witch Elves since the book came out, so people want to buy them, but I don't think there was. I think Corsairs are kind of better all round, and certainly in the head-to-head fight, they beat Witch Elves.
I think Witch Elves got poison, have they?
Yeah.
It comes down to meta. Again, exactly what we were saying earlier. Witch Elves, ton of really good shredding stuff, but not with saves. And of course, in tournament play, so many people using armour.
And I think the issue is they just die so quickly. They've got no saves themselves. Toughness 3, no save. Unless you're putting the Cauldron in there, and then you're looking at huge amounts of points, and then nobody's going to fight it. But yeah,
it looks good though.
Don't
blame people for having it.
Yeah. No. And in certain builds and against certain opponents, obviously from a Skaven point of view, a unit of Witch Elves with a Cauldron in, barreling across the table at you is going to destroy your slaves like they're not there, and potentially a big problem. But I think there's lots of options in the book. I mean, I don't think there are. I mean, apart from warlocks, there's nothing in there that's oh my god, the internet's broken type. There's just lots of good units that you can put together in different ways. Even Blackguard, certainly, looking at Blackguard, you give them the Razor Standard, them versus Executioners. There's not that much in it, and it depends which way the meta goes. If the meta moves away from 1-up saves, Blackguard are kind of looking like they could be equivalent to Executioners. So I think also from a kind of longevity point of view, the book's interesting because you can, as the meta changes, you can put units in and out, and that'll
keep
still
it fresh for you.
Well, yeah, but I can imagine in my list swapping 30 Execution out for 30 Blackguard if 1-up saves went away and more kind of medium cavalry, medium infantry. They'd be a good thing to put in. But I'm enjoying playing with the dragon.
Maybe we should start lobbying for halberds to get armour piercing.
Yeah, armour piercing halberds.
It's the way forward.
Yeah.
But I think just generally they've got lots of options in the book. Some units which you look at and you think, not sure about those. But generally,
how good are the warlocks? Have you used those yet?
How good are the warlocks?
I haven't played against them, so I don't. I mean, everyone's been talking about them, but I don't know what they're actually. Because sometimes what looks good in a book doesn't necessarily equate to being good.
They don't really have a downside.
No, they're the best things in the book, I think. But,
for 125 points for 5, they're not that much more expensive than Dark Riders. So they can do all the jobs that Dark Riders can do in terms of diverting. They're better in combat than Dark Riders. 2 strength, 4 attacks each as opposed to 1. They've got poison. 4-up ward save.
And what's the cheapest level 2 wizard you can put on the board? Probably a Skaven one, is it? What's
100.
Yeah.
Level 2, 100.
Or maybe a goblin one.
Oh, maybe a goblin, yeah.
125
Oh, you mean in general?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be a goblin one, wouldn't it?
Yeah. But that 120 points. He's a level 2 wizard as well. This Cav,
Yeah.
so
Right.
with Soul Blight and
do they stay level 2 up until they're all dead?
Yeah. You miscast.
So it's a 5 wound.
Yeah, you miscast. You take D3 hits with a 4-up wound, so you're going to lose one of them on average.
Yeah.
Don't lose any dice.
It's just there
is no downside to them at all. Because even if you're fighting something that it's not worth casting their spells against, which is hard to imagine, because if you don't want a magic missile, a strength 5 magic missile, -1 strength, -1 toughness, or because they're so fast, scoot them in the middle of your opponent's army and just 6 dice the bubbled version, so their entire army's -1 strength, -1 toughness. That's amazing. But then they're probably better than any other fast cav in terms of a head-up fight. Anything like they're going to be, because they've got ASF, strength 4, 2 strength 4 attacks each, poison, and a 4-up ward. There isn't much that can compete with them.
Not in the light category, but the thing is, you get this with all the new books, don't you? I mean, skull cannons. There's always in every book there's something that's really ridiculously underpointed recently. I don't think there's that in the Lizard Man book though, is there? There's nothing ridiculously underpointed. I know the Scarvets you could argue are underpointed, but they always were. Yeah. But they just stay the same. But you look at some of the latest things, the ogres when they came out. Iron Blasters seemed underpointed.
Morfang people were crying about.
The demons, you've got the Skull Cannon. The warriors, you've got Skull Crushers, Demon Prince. Take pick. There's always something that seems silly. The High Elves, Banner of the World Dragon, it's like little... Some
people don't like the Frostart Phoenix.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's appropriate, but...
That's a pain, that is. Played against that a few times.
I think that was the best thing they did to that book, put that in, just because it provides something the army doesn't have, which is something that's really hard to kill, basically.
But I don't think they're particularly broken. I just think that they haven't really got a downside. So if you throw them into a front of a unit of ranked up infantry, they're going to die over time. You're using them for the wrong thing.
Who's this Warlocks you're on about?
Yeah, Warlocks. Yeah. But otherwise, they haven't really... There's no downside. And I always think that's a bit of a shame when you have a unit in the game that's got no downside. Small arms fire, you have to put a lot into them to kill them with a 4-up ward. And they've got the potential to pin things that hit quite hard but haven't got a lot of attacks. Sit there with their ward and just take it. And you could still use them as diverter. They're still only 125 points, so you can throw them away.
Yeah, I think
they're still fast cav. You can't put musicians on them, so they're less likely to rally than Dark Riders. But generally, looking at the ETC comp as an example, they're you can have in the Dark Elf comp, it's effectively 5 units of fast cav or fast cav characters. Well, 2 of them are going to be Warlocks. Yeah, because even if you're just using them as fast cav, you take them over Dark Riders because they've got so much other utility, and they fight better and are more resilient than the Dark Riders.
The only way they could be better if they were core. That's basically what it comes down to.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'd struggle unless comp stopped it to have a Dark Elf list where the first 250 points of rare weren't 2 units of 5 of them, unless you were going, to take the bus, the big bus of them with all the characters in. Don't know how good that build is or not, but I think certainly the optimum place for those is 2 units of 5 of them. They just don't have a downside. No, but it's like core skinks. There's no downside to them. No, they're in that sort of category as other units in the game like that. That to be frank, you'd be off your head not to take them.
So if you had to write a list now, then what sort of thing would you be taking? If I said to you, right, okay, you're going to tournament tomorrow.
I think it'd be similar to what. So it would be a Lord on a Dragon with the Ogre Blade and the Cloak of Twilight with a Dragon Helm.
What's the Cloak of Twilight do?
So that's a 3-up ward against all ranged attacks, magic or shooting.
Does that give it to the mount as well?
No. But then when you get into combat, you get Killing Blow and multi-wound D3.
Ask him how many points it is.
50-ish.
I'm not sure it's that.
45, 50.
Sub 50, I think. Yeah.
So, he's got that, a Charm Shield, and then an Ogre Blade. So he's Strength 6, ASF, on a Dragon, rerolling 1s to wound.
It's nice, though, that you can actually take a dragon. There's someone on a dragon that's actually, is half usable.
Oh, and he's killy as you like as well.
Yeah.
He's always strike first. He's like a vampire lord, always strike first.
Strength 6.
Yeah.
It's only for the first round of combat. It doesn't matter whether you're charged or not. It's the first round of combat you get. So he's good, but he hasn't got a ward save in combat. He hasn't got a proper ward save.
Die.
So
he dies
in
kill
combat.
him when we played. I did, didn't I? I killed the guy and the dragon survived, because he doesn't have a ward save, so you can
so
can kill him, but he does a lot of damage, though.
He's good. Probably a level 1 to carry a scroll, a BSB, because you need one. I'd take a unit of Corsairs, 3 units of Dark Riders, probably with spears and shields, because then they've got a 4-up save. So, again, they're quite resilient. Unit of Executioners, 4 bolt throwers, and 2 units of Warlocks. I think that's 2,400 points.
How many Executioners?
30.
30, right.
With the Razor Standard.
Yep.
Because then, apart from Juggers...
Because they're strength 5, aren't they?
Strength 6.
Strength 6. The difference is that, it happens all the time. We talked about it on the show the other day. Even if you're strength 6 or 7, if you're strength 6, there's still a high chance that somebody with a 1-up save unit will dice you off the table.
Yeah, it's 50% saves.
Yeah, it only takes one round where it doesn't go in your favour and they get hit you with everything that you lose that combat. So I think it does swing it massively.
So the Executioners are basic strength 4, are they?
Yeah.
All right, okay.
Yeah, just like White Lions. They're essentially White Lions that aren't stubborn but have got Killing Blow.
Yeah.
But also, the massive thing with them is the rerolling ones to wound.
Yeah,
is just
it's
huge.
massive. Yeah.
And I've been tending to run the +1 movement banner on the Corsairs, so they're quite quick. But then that's kind of a list. You've got 4 bolt throwers, so you've got quite a lot of shooting. You've got a reasonably aggressive magic phase. You've got kind of 2 combat blocks plus the dragon. So it's
pretty balanced.
It's kind of balanced. Does a bit of everything. I'm not sure it's the entirely optimized tournament list, but
I'm not
I think
sure there is one at the moment though. So,
but I think it's kind of a bit meta agnostic, apart from cannons. But even then, if you're playing out of the book Warhammer, if you kill the dragon, often the Lord's running around by himself, then you don't get any points anyway.
Well, I think we played. I think I killed I killed the guy and the dragon was running, but didn't get any points for it. So,
no.
Yeah.
Generally, it's just kind of a good all-round list.
Good.
Yeah.
I like it. Well, I think we'll leave it there then, but it's interesting to see from a Dark Elf General just how it's going. And how do you think it's going to pan out? Do you think they're going to be a good list?
I think a lot depends on kind of monstrous infantry, monstrous cav, because they haven't got any of their own and they haven't got cannons. They're the things that worry them. Unit of 8 trolls are always going to cause elves of any sort problems, or ogres, those sorts of things. Multi-wound, multi-attack, things that do impact hits. Elves hate because it gets around their high initiative ASF. Elves are elves. As long as they're toughness 3, usually with kind of a 5-up save at best, they die really quickly. So I don't think that they will be the best. Just looking at demons, you compare those, they would struggle to face the wall of Nurgle demons because they've got no real answer to the beasts, and the Plague Bearers probably grind them off the table.
To be fair, not many armies have got an answer to the beasts, have they? Because they're
just
probably the most broken thing in the game at the moment.
Yeah. But and
there you go, another underpointed unit. Yeah,
and probably warriors. The highly mobile warriors we talked about. They could mob one unit. There's not a lot the elves can really do about it. I just think they'll be a good, solid army. I just think it's a shame because I think the high elves feel like they were they're the poor cousins in comparison. So, certainly in a head-to-head game, it's very difficult for the high elves. I
don't know. I think it's quite close. I'm not sure. But I actually still think the high elves in the high end no comp are better than the dark elves. But then I think maybe there's more. I don't know. I quite like both the books, but I'm not sure that it's as obvious as people make out that the dark elves are better. But
I think in a head-to-head, that's where the dark elves really shine. Because I think all the tools the high elves have got, the dark elves get round. So, for example, the banner doesn't really make a lot of difference. The things you'd kill units with the banner on in the dark elf book aren't magical. Murderous prowess is better than martial prowess, and dark elves effectively. Dark elves gets a reroll against high elves. High elves don't get to reroll against dark elves. That's where I feel in the head-to-head dark elves on high elves. you wouldn't want to be a high off in that game.
No.
But yeah, I think generally across all the other armies, there's some that high elves are better against. There's some that dark elves are better against. I think they're pretty equivalent out there generally.
Yeah.
Just in the head to head, the dark elves come off better off.
Cool. No, it's good. It's good to hear from you and on that. And I'm sure we'll hear from you later date about how the dark elves are going. You thinking of taking them to tournaments in the next year?
Yeah.
Good. We'll hear from you then. Cheers. Okay, so bit of a special one, really. We're joined by another internet superstar tonight. There he is. He's laughing already about it, but there he is. You may know the laugh. It's Dave Wojtek from Heelanhammer. Welcome to the show, Dave. How you doing?
Thanks for having me on. How are you?
Yeah, good. Full of the joys of spring, as we say. So I've got you on mainly because I want to ask you exactly the same questions I've just asked all the others about their Christmas wish list. So first of all, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you too. Or Happy Christmas, I think. Isn't that what you guys say?
Yeah, I don't know. Yes, a bit both. I think. Yeah.
I hear it on all the Harry Potter movies. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it could be either, to be honest. But yeah. Well, all the same, it's appreciated. So, I've got you on mainly to talk about that. But I did want to talk about something actually that we briefly touched on in the news section because I had a bit of during our break. I've had a little bit of more of a look at this, and that was the what they called scrolls of binding. Is that what's the technical term? Battle scrolls. That's it. So we mentioned it in the news section. They're downloadable digital product which gives you. In some cases, a new rule for a special character, or in the case of the one I'm going to highlight in a minute that I downloaded, it gives you it's called a formation, which is like it's a group of unit choices that can be used together with some special rules. So Dave and I were talking off air before we come on about the particular one that involves the vampire counts, because Dave, you're a vampire counts player as well, aren't you?
Yeah. I picked up both of them actually because I'm a sucker like that.
I would have done, but I think only because my iTunes account didn't have any money in it. I thought, and I couldn't remember what card it was linked to. I just got the one, but yeah, otherwise I'd be doing the same. But so I went with the Crypt Scavengers, I think it was called. And this is the first time I've had a good look at these, and you basically get a little bit about what a battle scroll is. Some bits about points values and how to use it, basically a little bit of artwork, some fluff, which is quite good, probably 4 or 5 pages, bit of timeline. So yeah, and then you actually get the battle scroll itself, which it says, battle scroll Crypt Scavengers, and it shows you Crypt Scavengers consists of the following units in Warhammer Vampire Counts. Now it's a selection of units from the book. I'm not going to go into massive details, but it's 2 units, a hero and a piece of terrain, oddly enough, which sounds a bit bizarre. And all it really is you can field it in a Vampire Counts army, but it gives you some special rules, a bit like the Wood Elves. You can place a Garden of Moor, and being in and around that Garden of Moor gives you some benefits. But the actual rules that are supplied, they do supply the rules for the units. So if you didn't have Warhammer Armies Vampire Counts, presumably you could use these on their own, although they're meant to be used in a Vampire Counts army. So
it actually says, though, in the beginning with the list of the battle scrolls, that you can take this, if you take it in an army not from the Vampire Counts army, you can take it in using the allied rules in the back of the book.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
So you could take it as the friends or the desperate heroes or whatever it is. Mm. So, but it actually says that you can take them as like an allied detachment.
Brilliant. So there is another reason to have the rules reprinted here then, so that's good, because I did wonder why they did it. But interesting. So what did you think about them, Dave?
They're pretty cool. They give you a bit of fluff, like you said, which I enjoyed reading. They give you a little character and name. The one for the Garden of Moor was a little weird because it gives you some cool rules. I mean, if you want to play a themed army that has a lot of ghouls and crypt horrors and that, this is every type of bonus that you could want, lowering your opponent's leadership, reroll failed regen rolls when you're near the thing, stuff like that, stuff that really comes well with that theme of the army. I kind of liked the other one a little better, though, I got to be honest with you. That was a formation without a piece of terrain. But I kind of like them. They're cool. They come so fast and furious lately. I don't know which ones I want to buy, which ones I don't.
How did you find out about them?
I actually heard about the Bellacore. I actually look at a lot of the Black Library stuff, and I knew they had their advent calendar coming. But before I had checked it that morning, Relian had posted up on Twitter, oh, hey, look, the Be'lakor, and there was so much talk about it that I went and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go get one.
Yeah, I found it out just by talk on Twitter, but which is really bizarre. It's not in a White Dwarf. It's I can't remember if it came on don't even know if it came on a Games Workshop email, but I only found out about it through Twitter. But there is a host of them up there. So at the minute, there's 2 vampire count specifics, Be'lakor, and a Chaos Warrior one, isn't there?
Yes.
Yeah, and they're all about. I mean, in English money, they're £3. What are they in American dollars?
They're like $4 if you're just going to get the ebook version, the PDF. And they're $5 if you're getting it for the iBook.
Yeah, so they're not massively expensive. I mean, that'd be the equivalent of just over a pint of beer probably here. So it's not they're not massive. I'm sure there'll be some people who would query possibly the money, but as you say, the fluff itself is an interesting little delve into it, and it does give you some pointers.
Yeah, Chris and I talked about that on the last episode because we were talking about Be'lakor, and I said, it is kind of expensive to buy a character. And I totally made a mistake and said he was in an old book, but he was actually just in that Storm of Chaos. But or not Storm of Chaos, whatever it was, the last the Chaos attack.
Yeah, sure.
But that's the book he was in. But instead of getting that 1 page of fluff you'd get if he was in the book, where you get the page of fluff and his rules and his stats. There's 2 short stories in there and like 5 pages of fluff. So if you like that kind of stuff, they give you a bunch of it.
Yes, definitely.
So that was pretty cool. This Restless Dead, I think you'd like this one a little better, Dan. Have you seen the other one, Restless Dead?
No, tell me a bit about it.
It's a skeleton. Basically, it's theming it to skeletons. You have to take a White King. You have to take 1 to 2 units of Black Knights, 1 to 2 units of Graveguard, and 1 to 4 units of skeletons, minimum size of 20 instead of the normal 10.
Oh, brilliant.
Now, if you do that, and they take this particular formation, you get 2 bonuses, and they're awesome. I was reading this. I'm like, this is beautiful. Hold on, let me get this to pop up. One of them, basically, as long as the White King's alive, he can march, and the rest of his formation can march around him.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, so you don't have to be within 12 inches of the general. And he also counts as the... basically as the BSB. So you'll lose anyone in the formation as long as he's alive. The unit will lose. They take 1 less wound to crumble. So that's the 2 rules you get. Sorry, that's the cuckoo.
That's excellent. I love those clocks. Yeah,
I do too.
Yeah,
but that's basically the whole special deal with the Restless Dead.
So can that one be taken as part of another army?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I like that because if you're playing, I don't know if you've had any opportunity to play this Triumph and Treachery yet, but
we got that scheduled. We just haven't yet.
But Wayne was saying he thinks it's the best Warhammer he's ever played. Like they've down the club, the core of them, 4 or 5 players, have been playing it for the last 3 weeks straight and trying to mix it up and outdo each other and everything else. It sounds really, really good fun. And I see this being an excellent opportunity to use it as a sort of a small. I mean, that's quite a large formation, I suppose, because of the points costs. But I like the idea that you can have a non-vampire general effectively. So yeah, it sounds good. Yeah,
well, I mean, he's not, I mean, he'll be the general just for that thing, but you can put them off on the side now. You could suddenly change up your tactics. Oh, and I'm sorry, I had the rule wrong. It's not just the unstable rule. You pick either a piece of terrain that's at least partially in your enemy's deployment zone, or you pick an enemy unit, and you get when you're within 12 inches of that piece, that unit or that piece of terrain, you take 1 less.
Oh, brilliant!
Wound for crumble. So suddenly it's like, oh, you can pick an enemy or pick if you're objective taking. So you can actually set them out and say you have to take this objective, you have to kill that unit, and they get a bonus when they're fighting them or trying to hold that place. So it's all this themey stuff. I really, they're fun. I'm looking forward to trying them in a couple of games just because it'll open up different play styles and strategies available to you. Yeah, I don't think it does anybody any harm. I suppose the question from the tournament players will be, should we have them at tournaments? And that's something for people to look at. But I like the idea that for your own games, it just adds another option. The Crypt one was really bizarre because Wayne and I have been talking about him using his Bretonnians and me and us having a little mini campaign with the story that links it, and one of the things, the 7 Samurai. Yeah, exactly. And one of the things, I listen. Yeah, there we go. Good man. And one of the things we were
talking about, I can't remember if it was on air or off air, was that the vampire army would be themed initially around sort of a grave robbing type affair on some ancient Grail burial ground or something. And then I saw this and I was like, that's perfect. He spent ages painting up a Garden of Moor that we use quite frequently in our games. And I've got an absolute ton of ghouls, so from the old days. So I've got to paint 3 crypt horrors, and I'm away. So I think I like the options. I think it's good. So
it's cool stuff.
Good. Well, I thought I'd get your thoughts on that while you were here. So Dave, Christmas. I'm going to give you the same questions as I've given all the other guys that the listeners would have heard so far. So, give me the 3 things that you have done this year in the hobby that Santa or Father Christmas, depending where you come from in your part of the world, I guess it's Santa, would consider naughty. You would get on his naughty list for.
Okay, 3 things Warhammer related.
Yep, Warhammer.
Okay, good. Okay, make sure this is Heelanhammer, not the Black Sun. Hold on.
No, yeah.
Okay, I haven't painted a model since July. That's my number 3. I haven't painted a model since July.
Oh yeah, and what's the reason for that?
I've just been in a bizarre sort of hobby slump. I finished up painting for a tournament. I have to get some stuff done, and basically, real life is sort of just. I've built some stuff. I've played games. I just haven't painted anything that I've got sitting up there waiting to be painted. I just haven't done it.
It's bizarre, that one, because that one's appeared a few times already. Mine was one of those I thought I'd been a bit slower than I should have done. So I think everyone goes through those little gaps. Have you ever had a long break from the hobby, or
I've only been in the hobby for like about 5 or 6 years, so I haven't been in long enough to break yet.
No, I'm sure it'll come at some point. But I think that's one of the beauties of the hobby. You can sort of like dip in, dip out. If you don't need to do anything and you've got painted armor, you can still play games, can't you? You don't have to have to do it and take it your own pace. So no, good. Okay, yeah, that one would definitely get on there. What else you got?
My second one of my 3, and I didn't know if to put this in 2 or 1, but I picked up an Empire army for my daughter Morgan. She wants to learn how to paint models, and she kind of wants. She says she wants to learn how to play. I think she really just wants to paint models. Mm-hmm. But the plan was this summer. Well, I stopped painting. As I said in July at the last tournament, and we were supposed to start painting, like daddy-daughter, painting up our armies together. But I haven't had any painting time yet, and so we missed the entire summer of painting. So
has she been asking for reminding you?
She has, over break she's going to start painting them with or without me. So she's like, get stuff ready. So
and how old is she?
She's 11.
Oh, right, good age for it then. Yeah. It should be interesting then.
Yeah, Harrison's been playing forever, and he just doesn't paint his stuff because he has no patience for it. Morgan's like, I'll paint all this stuff.
That's sometimes good. I know we've got one guy down our club whose missus basically paints all his stuff. So if it works, it works. No,
there we go.
I could see that one getting you definitely on the naughty list. So what was the last one?
So my number 1 was I've sold off most of my warriors, ogre kingdoms, a bunch of my orcs and goblins, and some of Harrison's Skaven as we're thinning down the herd here. We're culling some of the stuff to make room, but
was it just purely a space thing?
It's partly a space thing, partly I'm a never playing it thing. I mean, it's sitting out here and I've got stuff really piling up I'd like to condense down. And I realized I have, between my son and, Harrison's got 2 more armies, Morgan's got 1, and I think I've got like 8 or 9. And we don't need that many. I don't play that many.
No.
I've played I've played all of them a couple of times when I bought them. But then it was like I just kept going back to these same few. So I'm like, well, these are my 4, which was, I think 4 is more than generous. Mm-hmm. And then everything else is slowly but surely got to go.
No, I think that's something that all hobbyists have on a regular basis. I mean, I've done it before. I've sold my Wood Elves, my Beastmen, another Skaven army I had. I don't know how many Wayne's sold. So, and Brian, who was on the show earlier, he's pretty much sold and painted one of everything in the last sort of year. So, it's
is that Brian Carmichael, the Hobby Killer?
Yeah, Brian the Hobby Killer.
Of course. I've listened. New books out. He's got the army painted, plays it, bam, boom, sells it.
Yeah, and
it's just amazing. that's incredible to me.
No, but we were talking earlier, as listeners would have already heard, and he's certainly felt that it was a bit of a treadmill, and he's happy to be off it. He's finally actually highlighting things now, rather than just washing them and getting them done. So it's definitely hard work. So no, I think that's I suppose getting rid of your stuff, whilst it is a good thing, is probably some sort of hobby sin. So I can see that. What about the flip side then? What have you got on your? What have you been good?
I have come. Well, you know what? But I just really hope that nobody thinks that disappointing my daughters for painting second to selling my armies. As what's naughty. I hope I guess direct the hate mail at me and not Dan for that. I was a toss up. So for nice, I had I came to a decision. I'm not painting for tournaments anymore. Like, I'm going to paint nice, and I want to have, if I only go to tournaments, I want to get really good paint scores, but I'm not going to sit up nights before a tournament and say, oh my God, I got to get this stuff painted. If I don't have it painted by the time the list is due, then I'm just taking what I have painted. I'm not going to rush and kill myself. I'm going to paint for the enjoyment of it and not for deadlines. And I think I don't go to that many tournaments to begin with, so it's not that big a deal. But for me, it was just like, nope, I'm content. I just want to start becoming a better painter and not. I know I can do it fast. Now I want to do it well.
Oh, I think that's a great one. Yeah, I like that. It's forever a frustration for me. Although sometimes a deadline's the only reason that gets it done. It ruins your enjoyment a lot of the time. I think asking most people that are up late doing the last minute, and it just kills you. So,
and that's probably some of what contributed to my not painting a model since July, because between April and July, I just painted for the few tournaments I was in.
Yeah. Well, I was talking to UK number one Russ Phil not too long ago, and he was telling me, he's had a month or so off of painting because he had a massive splurge of getting his demons done for the tournaments and everything else, and I think everyone gets worn out after that. So no, I think that's a great one. What else you got?
I got my campaign finally set, the rules set, trimmed back far enough that I think everyone's going to be willing to play, and I'm sending that out first thing in the morning. I'm emailing everybody. Once I got everyone's emails together, I'm going to sit down in front of the computer and send out. So I'm going to get my campaign running.
Oh, brilliant. How many of you is going to be playing it?
I think right now we've got 7.
Excellent. And is it going to be like a escalation type thing, or?
No, it's kind of Mighty Empires, but we threw in stuff I've always wanted to try, which is basically, having certain rules with your lists and getting to having units can gain experience and gain bonuses. Characters can gain your general losing or getting killed that can actually have negative effects on them over the course of the campaign. You have to make the only thing that has to stay in your army is you have to make a general, and he gets extra bonuses, like all of the armies that get a little extra bonuses with their generals, but that's their general every game for the whole campaign. He's their warlord.
Yeah, I like it. Are you planning this one? Because if I remember rightly from listening to your show, didn't you drop out before and let your son play or something similar on the last one?
Well, I was running them. I was basically there was an odd number, and I was running it anyway. So I sat out, and then if Harrison couldn't make his games because he was, I think, 11 at the time. So if it had to be a late game or it got to be bedtime, I would pick up for him.
Oh, brilliant. And what are you going to be using?
We got the Mighty Empire set up. I'm, of course, taking my vampires. Harrison's got high elves. We've got an orc and goblin player, a ogre player, and I think we've got a Warriors of Chaos. And then it just depends what Alex and Chris, you decide to bring.
Oh, brilliant. So quite a good mix then. That's always handy to have.
Yeah,
it's not all full up with Warriors of Chaos players. That's okay.
And I'm trying something that's a little more board centered. It's not just play your battles and then stick flags in the map because you did well. There's actually some. I bought those little mini. What was not the Necromunda, but there was that other set of Warhammers, the real teeny models.
Oh,
Warmaster was it?
Yeah.
I picked up before GW, before you could hardly find them anymore. I picked up stuff from all the different races I could get. So I'm making little playing pieces for the board. So that's your general. Like I think Grant's playing demons. I got a little demon prince piece, and I got a high elf piece, and I got some vampire pieces and some orc pieces. So that way everyone use those for the board pieces, the main pieces, instead of just little plastic flags.
Oh, brilliant. Brilliant. That does sound like a good fun, actually. It's one of the things I know we say it all the time on the show, but I really want to get involved with some sort of campaign like that. But it's just getting the time to do it. Maybe it's a summer campaign, I think, type job. That's always the quieter period for me. So, and I'll be interested to hear how that goes on your show. So I look forward to that.
Thanks.
So what have you got in first place?
I sold most of my Warriors of Chaos, Ogre Kingdom, some Ogres and Goblins, and my Skaven.
I think selling the Warriors of Chaos is definitely a nice thing. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. That fell. I think that fell into both categories. That was something I really needed to do. Plus, now I've got enough funds ready so that when the dwarf book does drop, I don't have to worry about picking and choosing between what I want. I can just get all the new toys, and if there's some cool older models, I can get those too.
Sounds like a plan. Have a bit of a clear out. Are you looking forward to a potential new dwarf book?
I am. I'm always looking forward to a new book. I mean, it's going to be really different, and I'm prepared for it to be nothing like the old book, and as long as it's balanced, I'm going to be happy with it. I just, I'm hoping. In fact, here's my hope, is that it's balanced so that it's a good, fair, even book. My dream is that it'll be a decent enough book that people will quit whinging about how much they hate playing against the dwarfs.
I've never done that. Yeah, no.
Because here's the thing: you either love them or you hate them, and it's just so many people I know hate them. But it's like, but I love them and I want to bring them out. But everyone's like, "Oh, you're dwarfs." It's like, okay, I got 3 other armies. I'll play something else, but I really want to play my dwarfs. And if they're really good, all those whingers will bandwagon, and then I can point and laugh. Chris, you won't, because he hates them, but other people might.
Well, he's a true elf player, isn't he? So
yes, he is.
But the thing with the dwarfs is I really like the look of the models. I'd love to paint an army of them. And at one point I did start when I moved away briefly from where I live now and met my wife. I'd bought a couple of box sets of dwarfs and was going to paint them up. And just it was almost luck that I didn't. I started painting another Skaven army, but I do fancy them. But yeah, people just don't like playing them, do they?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'll play any army. I don't like playing against ogres a lot, but it happens. You just play who you got to play. I just love the theme of that army. I always have. They were always my favorites. When you play D&D, when you read Lord of the Rings, I love the dwarfs. So
yeah, I think everyone's got their favorites like that, and dwarfs are hugely popular. I think if they were really exciting, fun army to play, there'd be a mass exodus towards them. I think everybody would drop everything else and be on them. See them everywhere.
Yep.
Everyone likes actually a bit of dwarf, I think. So no, that's good. I like that one. So while we're talking about things that you sort of wish for, let's talk about your top 5 Christmas wish list then, for maybe the next edition. What have you got?
All right. I didn't think of a lot because I actually like 8th edition. I think it's fun. It's the most. I've only been here with the very tail end of 6th and then through 7th. And then 8th. And 8th is a lot of fun to me, but I like to have a fun game, Mm-hmm. So I didn't have too much I had problems with. I'd like to see a little bit better with the skirmishers. Mm-hmm. They just seem to have really lost their place. And I mean, you don't want whole armies of skirmishers. I mean, you can do that with your skinks, but I'm just saying when you get the armies that only have 1 or 2 little units of skirmishers, maybe let them take a banner or something, just something, give them a little boost because they just seem to suffer a lot, at least in the people I've been playing against.
Yeah, I like that. I can see that.
What else did I put in here? More standardized rules. Like I think when 8th edition came out, they put those FAQs out right away, and they took anything that was kind of like Strider and just said call it Strider. Mm-hmm. It's just get it. And I don't want to compare it to War Machine, but War Machine's got a list set of rules, and no matter what it looks like when you're throwing it, a fireball's a fireball, and this is a fire thing right here, and that's what you call it. Mm-hmm. At least that's a rule so that way it's a little tighter. Because I don't have a problem with it per se, but I mean tighter rules are always nicer. I'm not complaining. I like this edition, but I wouldn't mind.
I don't know if you ever played War Machine, but that was the one thing for me that when I had a little brief foray into it that's really stuck in my mind is how well written and clear the rules were.
Yeah,
really clear.
I have trolls. Harrison plays a lot. Harrison should practically be a press ganger because he got like 4 of his friends into it. So I have trolls. I've never won the game. I played it a half dozen times. I never won it once. So it must be a terrible game because
that maybe it just wasn't for you, Dave. That's the best way to look at it. Yeah.
Maybe that's it. I guess.
Yeah. No, everyone has their pros and their cons, so there you go.
No, I'm just teasing. Hey, I like the models, and it's actually kind of a fun game. I'm terrible at it. So when people say, "Hey, would you like to play this?" I'd like to play something else, but if that's the game, I'll play it.
No, I enjoyed it. I just I think it's like everything. You need a lot of people playing it who also want to do it. It's got a lot of benefits to it, that game, but I think my emotional investment is in Warhammer, and
yeah, that's what it is for me too.
And therefore, my time investment goes into that rather than it. But yeah, no. Anyway, we better not divert. We never digress on this show, so we better stay on.
Waxing nostalgic about the systems here. All right, give large monsters and dragons a bit of a better time.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's so many cool ones out there, and they're just not great. And you don't want to make them too great. I mean, I don't want every army to have undercosted huge monsters that are just going to rip stuff up, because then that just makes the game boring. But right now, you just barely ever see them. And I'm not saying pull back on the cannons, because I got a book coming out that's going to have a lot of cannons. And so I'm not saying make the cannons weaker, but just, I don't know, give them something. I mean, I know that 6s wound anything, but maybe on these biggest of monsters, they have some sort of rule that once you get past 2 or 3 past their strength, and like the old strength and toughness rules, once you get too high.
Yeah, long-term listeners probably won't remember, but toughness 7 was in the game, and if you were strength 3, you couldn't wound it. Treeman, for example, couldn't be wounded by strength 3 troops. So I thought it was okay.
I mean, just for those, or something. I mean, I'm not trying to make up rules. I am not a rules writer. Okay, that's not what I do. But I'd like to see them get a better time. And my last 2 are simple. I actually want to see the allies like they did with 40K, and I think they're testing the waters with these formations and stuff in the battle scrolls. Hey, look, you could take this little formation right here and plop him into another army, just like with the allies. Ally rules for 40K: you got to take a general and at least 1 troops choice, or like a core choice. Mm-hmm. Before you can take other stuff. So it's not just go grab the filth.
Yeah, sure.
And you look at these formations they've got, and they've all got a mini general and a bunch of guys.
Mm-hmm.
Why not? If I'm going to take vampires into my unit as an ally, and I don't want to take a vampire lord as my general, hey, look, you've got this guy. He can be your mini general. Even in a vampire unit, he can run off and do his own things. But he's got all these great little abilities for allies. I'd love to see allies. That was one of the reasons I held on to my armies for so long. Was you never know, I might get to use them in different things.
I mean, allies have always actually been a part of the game. It's just a part that is not mass rolled out,
right?
And you don't see it very often. I can't think of ever using them. Not since I played in 5th edition. 5th edition, I remember using them on the odd occasion. But since then, I can't remember using them. But I don't think it necessarily be a bad thing.
I mean, they have those rules when you play a team game if you want to put the 2 armies together. But that's about it. You only ever see them. Some people bring those rules in if you're going to play in a team game. So if you have desperate allies, you don't get to use your generals' leadership and stuff like that. I've seen that implemented. I think that's implemented at the Adepticon team tournament.
Yes,
the rules for allies in the book are
Yeah, so it is there, but like you, I don't think it'd be a massive issue. And tournaments can still choose to ignore it if they want. It depends how it's written into the rules, I guess, if it's really fundamental to the game.
Yeah, I mean, when you play 3,000 points, no grand armies, that's no different than saying to 3,000 points, no allies, or 2,400, no allies. So you're playing straight armies. It's the simplest of comp rules, because all you just leave that one part out of it. So,
well, you could argue that scrolls of binding from Storm of Magic are just as legal as anything else, but tournaments don't allow them. So that's fine. If people want a house, it's the same as any other house rule thing. So why not? I know Wayne and I are talking a lot, as listeners would have already heard, about Triumph and Treachery, and the Allies has been a really good fun part of that, and real positive in terms of hobby for people. I think looking at small projects to be able to just add and use those straight away. So why not?
And that looks like a really good time. That's what I'm looking forward to. 4 guys. It doesn't matter who wins. You got 4 guys playing. It's just everybody gets to play at the same table. Because, you get in the basement with 4 or 5 friends, and suddenly you got 3 tables running, and you're playing your game, and you don't know what else is going on anywhere else until somebody shouts or screams, "Hey, what's over there?" I think all playing at that same table, especially with all those backstabber cards going on, I think that's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, it does. I'm sure when you listen back to yourself on this show, you can hear Wayne's story of Triumph and Treachery. But it does sound like an absolutely fantastic time. So definitely check that out. Great. So what was your number one? What was the one thing you wanted?
My number one, quarterly FAQs. May not be necessary every 3 months, but if you get into a habit of doing them in January, April, July, and October, there you go. You put it out, take a look at it. They keep having that email thing up there. You can email with their questions, but they never answer. They say, maybe we'll put it in the FAQ. If you're updating it every 3 months, at least if we know, hey, maybe nothing's going to come out, but we all know it's going to come out here and then, and you're not waiting as long as we have like now since the last FAQ, because that's just frustrating. There's obviously questions out there. Just answer them and get it done with.
No, I agree. And funny enough, it's one that came up before. So yeah, it was an odd situation, wasn't it? Where we were having them all the time. They've been updated all the time. Some people moan they're almost too frequent, and now we've gone back to not having any. And really, we don't need that many. We just need a few tweaks. But maybe that's because internally they're not even working on this edition. Who knows? So,
that's possible.
But yeah, I agree. I think that'd be a great one. A great one. And what about your Christmas list then, Dave? What do you want this year from Santa? Santa?
Oh, what do I really want? Oh, I want I want the fancy Breaking Bad complete series deluxe set that comes in the little barrel where they would bury the people in.
Yeah. See, I'm no spoilers for me because I'm only on series 1. I'm like 4 years behind people, but yeah. So carry on.
55 hours of supplemental footage. El Pollo Hermano apron for the kitchen. It's got everything. It's ridiculous, and I'm like, I loved that show. So, Chris, you got me to start watching it like 2 weeks before I think the final season started. So I watched all 4 seasons in about 10 days.
Yeah.
I was on vacation, so it helped, but I was watching like 4 or 5 episodes a day and got caught up. I was like, this show is amazing.
That's what I was talking about this today, funny enough, and because I've started watching it with the wife, and she's been a bit like, oh, let's watch something else for a bit. And I was like, oh, I want to see the rest. But I've been told that series 1 and 2, a little bit slow, but then it flies on and on and on. So another recommendation by the sounds of it. So yeah, I'll check that out.
It's top notch. Yeah.
Good.
But that or, I can always use more hobby stuff, but I'm not allowed to ask for hobby stuff.
No.
I asked my mom. My mom's the one person I can still ask because I guess I'll always be her little boy. So who knows? Maybe I'll get a copy of that, the Black Library, the new Horus Heresy book, the role-playing one, the 30K Betrayal. That'd be cool.
We didn't talk about round bases on here, but that's fine. No, the Horus Heresy I've started reading myself actually, and I've been really impressed with it. It's fantastic. So I'm not likely to start podcasting about it. I know you do. It's
after Ulanor. Shameless plug. After Ulanor,
you plug away.
It's me and Greg Dan. You guys, Greg Dan, the Garage Hammer European correspondent.
Yeah.
And we've been talking a lot of Horus Heresy novel stuff, and he's like, we should just do this and put it out there and see if anyone wants to listen. And apparently people are listening. So we're actually going to release the first half of Fulgrim probably in the next few days, and then the second half of it in about a week.
Brilliant.
And then normally it's about every 6 or 8 weeks. We give people a chance to read the book before we do it.
Good.
But it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was really surprised at how much of a massive following this has, and having read the first 2 books, I found it really, really interesting. My only restriction on it is purely time; otherwise, I would have read a lot more, I'm sure. So yeah, check that out if you're into that kind of stuff. So, yeah. I mean, if you could have something hobby, is there anything particular that you would want this year?
You know what? I've put myself such into a mode for just waiting for the dwarfs that there's really nothing that I want unless some more. Like I've been picking up monsters for Storm of Magic. I got some Mears miniatures. I got the Manticore and the Chimera, and I picked up the Cockatrice from GW, and I've been picking up Storm of Magic monsters. So any of that stuff, I'm always happy to take something to throw down a battle scroll for, or a power scroll, whatever they're called.
Yeah, see, that's what I like. That's one of the reasons I like this kind of setup. You can just something quirky you decide you want to use, and you can. There's nothing prevents you from doing it. You don't need a whole army of it. You don't need 2,000 points, 2,500 points. To paint the cockatrice. It's great.
Exactly. You need a break from painting skeletons or 200 zombies. You go, okay, I'm going to paint this thing, and when it's done, it's completely done.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, well, I think.
What are you asking for, Dan, or did you already do that in the show?
Did we?
What's your Christmas?
Did we do it? It wasn't that long ago, but I don't know. I can't remember what it was now. I think one of the things I said was that I have restricted myself in terms of I've got a lot of unpainted things here, and I need to finish my vampires before doing anything else. So at the moment, it would all be vampire based. But yeah, I'd quite like some hex wraiths. Probably would be the thing.
I like them. I like them a lot.
I haven't quite had the chance to put them on the board yet, but I would imagine with the way I like to play, they'd be quite handy. So yeah, looking forward to that.
Yeah, I have the boots on the ground army. I don't run the 2 Terrorgeist. I don't have a lot of the big stuff. I was playing against Chris, and almost ran out of zombies. I was growing them so fast.
See, I
have over 200. I start off with I had in this particular army I had 3 units of 25, and then I got off a really big magic phase. I got off Raised Dead, raised another unit right in the range, and then for the next 2 turns I pulled off 2 really strong growth spells, and I went from 60 to 180 models on the table.
Fantastic.
In 2 turns. It was brilliant. Chris is like, well, okay, so whatever you throw that into is going to sit there for the rest of the game. I'm like, exactly.
Yeah, I do like that aspect of it. Funny enough, regular listeners would know that's what's been on my painting tray for the last couple of months. Really, is more zombies, because you can never have too many zombies, I don't think.
I think I'm going to make some. I'm going to make some speed trays, and I'm going to paint the edges of them just black with the little yellow diagonal stripe, like a speed bump.
Yeah,
and I'll just pull out the little ones and put them out there when I summon them up. Here's another little speed bump, speed bump, speed bump.
Yeah, have a look. Yeah, I need to. I haven't had a go at the all infantry army yet in this current book. I've been using the cavalry unit, but I was always a big fan of the infantry. I just think it looks cool, that whole shambling undead horde look. So.
I'm terrible with the Cav, and I'll tell you what, a Horde of Graveguard do a really nice job. They do just as nice of a job as a big unit of Black Knights. They don't have as good of a save, but they have so many more wounds.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, we were all, when we had a Crown of Command and a Drakenhof banner, we were all toting them here. So,
well, yeah. We don't. I'm still toting them. I like them. So,
I definitely don't think they're too bad. And there's not a lot in the Vampire army that can kick out that kind of high strength. So, still a decent unit, I think. And if you can use your little battle scroll or whatever to help them as well, why not? So I like it.
Exactly.
I like it. Good. Okay, Dave. Well, thanks for joining us. I'm sure we'll speak to you again, and I'm really looking forward to when we can talk on your mic at Adepticon, because that's going to come up quick, isn't it? I think.
I'm excited about it myself.
Good. Excellent. Well, thanks for joining us, Dave, and a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you, too. Thanks for having me. Oi, you lot. This is the Master Engineer from Heelanhammer, and I'm coming to wish all your manlings a Merry Christmas. Now shut it! I'm listening to Heelanhammer.
Beady, weedy, wee.
Okay, let's finish this off and get out of here. So very, very quickly, Beady Weedy Week. Wayne, what are you doing this week?
Skaven characters, and I've started on some scenery. So I painted Queek Head Taker. I've basically copied what he is in the book with the red armour and all that. Spent a bit longer than I usually do, because I just wanted to add some characters. I noticed with my Skaven army, it's like there's loads of stuff in it, but I haven't actually got many characters. All the ones I have got, I painted ages ago. So I've done Queek. I did a Warlock Engineer today, which I've been posting these on Twitter. So if you follow me on Twitter, you would have seen what I've done. I'm working on Ikit Claw at the moment. And I've also got a Skrill Gnawtooth.
Oh, yeah, great.
But I used the whip on another model, so he's got a banner. So he'll be next. And then Steve Follows sent us some terrain that he's been working on with a friend of his, which I kind of laser cut. And he sent me a ruined sort of temple base. So it's all out of MDF, but it's been laser cut, so there's kind of looks like stonework, and then there's what looks like a kind of phoenix, like an Aztec style phoenix.
Oh, brilliant!
Carved into it. And he also sent me some fences. So you'd like them, Dan?
Yeah,
You're
good.
partial to a fence, aren't you? So especially sitting on them. So I basically made a big disc, cut out a big disc of plastic, stuck this on it, and then I've used with some of the, like the what's the 2 towers? The scenery that they you got the fulcrums. The ruined ones. The Witch Fate Tour.
Yeah,
the ruined one. Well, you've got some kind of parts of circular stone.
No, the Dreadstone Blight.
Dreadstone Blight, yeah. You've got some sort of parts of circular stone. I had some of those left over. So basically what I did was I put them to the edge of the circle, and then I've put some jungle trees, the old, like the 40k jungle trees, yeah. Put those on it. Sorry, saying 40k. I'll have to wash my mouth out now. Put those on, put some sand on it. I just need to paint it up. That's going to be kind of the centerpiece to the jungle table. So it's kind of like, when you kind of capture the objective, that'll be the objective.
Yeah, sure.
And then I'm going to make some forests out of jungle trees. And also that's what I'm going to do next. So yeah, I've got plenty of stuff going on.
Brilliant.
Once the characters are done for the Skaven, then I'm going to crack on with Elizabeth.
Excellent.
So I've got a unit of Croxigal waiting to go.
Sounds good to me. My week is probably just going to be finishing off, if I get chance. It's a bit manic at the moment until Christmas. I'm going to try and finish off those zombies that are sitting not too far from Wayne. It feels like I've been saying that for weeks, but I just need to put a single highlight varnish and finish basing them. And then I've got 3 VAR guys sitting up there that I need to... I've been using Plasticoat sprays like we always have, but I've had a real problem with the spray cans, where you get half of them, and if you leave them for a while, it doesn't matter what you do with the spray can, they just seize up.
Yeah, so, the nozzles, yeah.
They don't, I'm fed up wasting money. I need to write them a letter, really, because I'm not happy about it.
Do you do the upside-down spray?
Yeah, I've tried everything, and I don't know I've never, ever had that problem with a spray can, and I've used so many manufacturers over the last how many years doing this hobby, but those particular cans, someone tweeted me and said they've improved the can now, and it's a different can, so fingers crossed it's not going to be...
Yeah, there's a twist. I've got one of the new ones. Yeah, it's kind of, instead of it just being the pop-off one, where like you normally get the traditional ones, these ones are kind of, you twist them to open the nozzle.
Oh, yeah.
Or to get access to the nozzle, and then you spray them. But I don't know if they're going to be any better, because the actual action of doing it still comes out the same way.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I think they just look fancier, but they're more of a kind of child lock, because when you turn them back, kids can't get hold of them unless they know what they're doing. Yeah. You kind of spray them. So that's quite a good feature.
I'll have to check it out.
They look a lot fancier.
But yeah, I need to get myself one of those just to finish those 3 VAR guys. It won't take 10 minutes because I've got a real quick way of doing that kind of stuff. How I did the Terrorgeist. So
is it the chocolate brown one you use?
Yeah.
I've got some at home if you want to borrow it.
Ooh, good. That might be interesting. Yeah, and just need to finish those, get that done, and then I'll see what it takes me. If I get any time over Christmas just to chill, I might fancy just painting a bit of this or a bit of that, just building something and painting it.
Triumph and Treachery Army, mate.
Well, exactly. Yeah. Something for the new year.
Yep.
And I've got a tournament at the end of Jan, which I'll be taking the vampires to. But I might just paint something for Triumph and Treachery. So I just got to figure it out. I need a reread of the book, so I'll have to nick the book back off you and have a look at the different bits and pieces for the mercenaries. So that'd be great. And that's mine. What about you, Brian?
Not a lot. Playing Space Hulk on the iPad, really.
Sounds good to me. Over Christmas, yeah. I think Christmas is a bit of a weird one for some people. It's like the haven of time off and hobby time. And some people, especially those with families and stuff, it's not always that. For me, for you, Wayne, it's probably less time, isn't it? Unless you're at work, you ain't got time. But
the Christmas break will be no hobby for me. Yeah, I won't get any time at all.
Yeah, be around here doing my bathroom. I think it depends on your situation whether it's more or less. But yeah, so hopefully you guys will have a decent time. So I think it's time to get out of here. So we wish you all a very Merry Christmas, and I hope you have a good time. Again, do get some hobby time and some nice things for Christmas. Always like this time of year because it's a good time to look back at the year that's gone past, and also when we come around to January is having a look at New Year's hobby resolutions. Everyone comes into the new year with a bit of a look at what they want to do and make some resolutions. So yeah, we're on a break now until the middle of Jan for the 15th of Jan show, which is show 100. So I would like that to be a little bit special. So the break's quite good in a way. It gives me time to prepare. I've got some ideas of what we're going to do with that. And it's a good time. Show 100 at the beginning of the year. I don't know. It just seems like the only way that could be better if it's at the end of the year. But we're going to leave it at the beginning of the year, I think, and do that. So that's a bit of a special time in the Heelanwood Studios. So yeah, you won't hear anything from us. This show's pretty long though, so hopefully it should keep you going. And of course, if you're a Saucy member, there's some new stuff on the Saucy. There's a show we just did with Steve Wren, who, for those of you who don't know, is a UK multiple award winner for Best Painted Armies. And we had him and Wayne and myself having a good chat on the Saucy. Just in general, really, it was a bit of a starter show of a couple I want to do on painting, just discussing the competitive aspect of army painting and how you go about it for tournaments, and lots of different bits and pieces in there. Hopefully there's some nuggets of wisdom, but just generally I think it's a really good listen. So if you want that, help support the show by signing up for the Saucy section. It's just £18 a year, and that gets you a subscription to a separate section of our Heelanhammer forums. There's the normal forums, which are free, but this is a separate section, and it gives you our entire show archive back to show one, loads of guides and just hours of content on different subjects and shows. And that's going to be moving forward where our our army reviews are going to be. I know we've got a couple of big ones planned early part of the new year, so keep your eye out on those. As always, we want to thank our sponsors, oddgames.co.uk. As I said, make sure you go and visit them for all your Christmas present needs. They have tons of offers and board games. I think Christmas is an ideal time to be playing those, and that's where they really, really excel. As always, as I said, you can join our forum for free. Get on there. The busiest section has always been the same, and that is the hobby blog side, where we're quite a hobby orientated show. That's always really, really busy. If you do sign up, please email me and I'll activate your account, because we do get a lot of spam and it's hard to tell when new legitimate people turn up. But as always, the best place to follow us all is on Twitter. Wayne, is at Wayne Kemp 13. I am at Heelanhammer. And if you want to hear what Brian's got to say and what Phil Fee's on about, you can follow you at
UberTechie74.
There we go. So that's all good. But that is the place. Wayne literally is the man. He posts up all the time. And normally, if it hasn't been for these past few weeks, where I play Warhammer a lot, there's always pictures of me playing Warhammer and doing bits and pieces on there. So it's definitely the place to keep up to date with us and any show news and everything else. If we've ever got a delayed show, or if you want a sneak peek of what we're talking about on the next topic or anything like that, definitely the best place to follow us. It's quite funny going back through our followers list, and you see a lot of people who only follow us. But when you first get on, if you follow us and then look at the people we follow, it's very easy to pick up a big wargaming set of people to follow on Twitter, and you can get all the updates from them. That's it, really. Last thing I want to say, if you do follow us on iTunes, please, 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 especially if you're in the US, because I want to see more US ones, can you drop us an iTunes review? It takes 5 minutes. Just leave a quick comment and stick us a review on there. It helps us move up the charts so newer listeners can pick us up. As I'll keep threatening to do it, and I will do it. I would like to read out at the end of the show people's names that drop us a nice 5-star review. So thanks very much for all that. Wayne, anything else from you before we go?
No, I think that was a pretty full show.
Good. What about you, Brian? Anything else you want to plug, say, anything else?
No. Happy Christmas to everyone.
Love you, Mum.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah. Happy Christmas, yeah.
Yeah, but no.
Have a wonderful time over the festive season.
We wish you a Merry Christmas, one and all. Is that a Snoopy voice? I don't know what voice that was. Anyway.
I don't know.
No, I don't know.
If you don't know, we ain't going to know.
No. Merry Christmas. And we hope you have a good holiday time. Don't drink and drive, stay safe. What else do you say about this time of year? There must be some more cliches that we've missed, but enjoy it, people, and we'll see you in the new year. See you soon.
Bye bye.